just gotta run, and ain't nobody gonna hold you, and everybody needs someone. Don't try to go alone, don't say I never told you. When you wake up tomorrow and your heart ain't feeling right, I'd love to steal up all of them, say goodbye to pain and sorrow every day and every night.
All right, guys, I'm still kind of new to this, so once you can see me, let me know. I mean, I don't know when she's going to cash it in. It's just it's a matter of when the best time. God, lifting him up in powerbomb position, yeah, that's not going to make the blood. Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Good Mic Work peeking in at you real quick. That's the crown jewel of the box. But let me tell you, I had the time of my life. AEW Double or Nothing 2022 was a kick-ass time. My experience at this past Wednesday's AEW Dynamite live from the Kia Forum. AEW Dynamite right here live in the city that I live in. Chris Jericho, Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea Part 2, the second wave. Vince McMahon is gone from the WWE forever. Why does he get booed? Because he's a piece of shit. CM Punk has quit the WWE. CM Punk has been fired from AEW. I think I'm wrong. Oh my God! Oh my God! What? Here he is. There we go. Lights are out. Oh my God! Alabama slam him through the ladder. Oh God! Oh my God! Oh no! Oh dear! And host of Wrestling with Regret on YouTube, the one and only Brian Zane. How you doing, Mr. Influencer? The best podcaster in the game today. Jason Solomon, the Solomonster. Great guy in the community. Steve, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to my channel. As the wrestling world lost Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly died, we just looked at each other. He said, died? Owen Hart died? The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, has passed away. Rowdy Roddy Piper has passed away. Bobby the Brain Heenan has passed away. Vader passed away apparently on Monday, June 18th. The Ultimate Warrior has passed away. Harley Race has passed away at age 76. Mean Gene Okerlund has passed away at age 76. Legendary WWE ring announcer Howard Finkel passed away today at age 69. China, real name Joni Lauer, was found dead. We learned of the passing of Psycho Sid Vicious. The legendary Terry Funk passed away. And for those who don't know, Jay Briscoe, Jamin Pugh, a.k.a. Jay Briscoe, was involved in a fatal car crash this past Tuesday in Laurel, Delaware. Hey, yo, Scott Hall has passed away. And there's darkness before light. Find somebody and get together. Make love last forever, every day and every night.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
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 Good Mic Work Commentaries. Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Good Mic Work on YouTube.
And for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Greg seems to get it and seems to speak at an appropriate volume level, and that's one of the best compliments I can pay such a fine man.
So it's sad, but it's true. And it can get the best of anyone. This loneliness won't get you through. You're gonna need to find
That is one of the biggest motivations for me to keep doing this, is because, a lot of people have reached out and said, your content helps me. That might sound crazy to me, that me flapping my gums about wrestling helps somebody, but it does. I don't take that lightly. That's a responsibility, that I want to be here. When I say I'm going to be here and I commit to a schedule, I want to be here.
every day and every night.
Happy Saturday night. What is going on, guys? Welcome to Saturday night's Greg event. I cannot tell you how happy I am to not be doing this podcast in the middle of the day before I go to work. I took the whole damn day off today so I could hang out with you guys tonight, have a nice, big, long podcast. Lots to get into, as I've been mostly absent, at least from podcasts, most of the week. We were not here for a Raw review. I haven't talked about Dynamite yet. Smackdown from last night. So much to get into. Plus, WrestleMania is 1 week away. 1 week from tonight is night one, and the card is pretty much set. Not only is the card pretty much complete, missing one, maybe two matches still got to figure out what Orton's going to do. But we also have a listing of which matches are going to be on which nights. So we're going to kind of break all that down. Our predictions are going to be coming later on this week, but we're going to be talking a lot about these matches, where I feel like we're sitting right now in terms of who might win and what direction they're going to go in, that type of stuff. Lots and lots of WrestleMania chatter this evening. We're also going to get into some wrestling news, although the wrestling news is rather light. So we're mostly just going to be talking about a lot of results and a lot of WrestleMania stuff. We got Hall of Fame news. We've got random, AEW news and notes from AEW and WWE. We'll talk about Dynamite as well this past week. Of course, this is the first show after a very disappointing Dynasty last weekend, which I gotta say is the first AEW pay-per-view I have ever purchased. And I've purchased them all, except for like two when I was out of town or had to work or something. I mean, for 5 years, I've gotten every single AEW show, purchased it on pay-per-view, and I've never once, not even once, been disappointed until last weekend. First time I've ever said, okay, that show was not only brutally long. Normally, I don't even care about long shows, but that was brutally long. We had to sit through all that just to get the finish we got. And I was worried that there was going to be some backlash. Fans were going to be turned off, completely just kind of fed up to where they might not want to watch anymore. We saw a lot of that. Now, I'm not watching. I'm done with them. And I was curious what the ratings would do, if they would hold, or if we would see a significant dip from fans who are legitimately turned off. And if you are one of those fans, you kind of have every reason to be right now. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty disappointing. And so what I was hoping for is maybe they could get back on the right track a little bit on Dynamite, try to offer something that would make the pay-per-view okay. I didn't really care or even like very much the explanation from the Young Bucks, but I do see potential for the future. We got Blood and Guts coming up, obviously. We've got Anarchy in the Arena coming up, obviously, and we got All In. Owen Tournament is going on right now. There's hope, but one thing that I've been thinking about all week since Dynasty last week is that AEW exists because of the very same booking philosophies they had at Dynasty, WWE was doing for so long. That's the whole reason AEW is there, is because the top dog in the game spoon-fed us a bunch of shit for over a decade. And I really don't want to see that happen in that company. So we'll talk a little bit about Dynamite. Collision just wrapped up. I caught most of it. We'll talk about those results as well, but we're going to talk about what we saw on Raw this past Monday. We're going to talk about last night's Smackdown and how we're looking going into these two big WrestleMania main events, the Triple Threat on night one and Cody and Cena on night two. And I want to talk a lot about Jey Uso and Gunther because we saw a great promo between them on Raw. That segment was very good, best one we've seen yet, and it's the first time that Jay has made me give a shit. So we're going to talk about what I think might happen in these championship matches, and I've got some kind of interesting predictions to kind of lay on you later, even though our actual predictions will not be until Thursday. Let me just straighten myself out here because we're in no hurry tonight. There we go. Get you a little bit down there. So it's going to be a lot of WrestleMania chatter, like I said, and just a lot of hanging out. Yesterday marked 15 years that I've been doing YouTube. I uploaded a little thank you video yesterday. Thank you to everyone who left a nice message and comment down below. I really appreciate that. Got a lot of DMs and emails over the last day or two as well. I appreciate all that. So tonight, I kind of just wanted to come up here and have a podcast where we can kind of hang out, casually talk about things, not have to be rushed, and most importantly, since I don't have to work, open up a nice frosty cold one. So cheers to you guys. This is a thank you to you. I'm not celebrating anything I've done. I'm celebrating you guys being here with me for 15 years, many of you. Some of you less time, but a lot of you have been with me many, many years. I've gotten messages from you. All of those comments in that video yesterday, a lot of them said the same thing. Started watching you when I was in grade school, high school, middle school. Now I'm old. I got my own apartment. I'm married. I've been married twice. I'm graduating college. You're all grown up. And that's kind of been the cool part of this channel is we've all been able to grow together and we've been able to experience all the crazy things we've experienced together in pro wrestling and just watching us evolve as people. You've watched my channel evolve. You watched me evolve, my channel, everything. And watched you guys do the same thing. So tonight's just going to be a fun hangout. If you got one open, cheers to you. Thank you for 15 years of support. I really, really do appreciate it. And we'll have some fun tonight. I got to get into a lot of stuff. I'm going to be answering these super chats that are coming in right now before we get going. But before I do that and say hello to everybody in the chat, let me tell you what's on tap for the next couple of days. Now, I've been swamped with my Mania stuff, and I still don't have my links posted for WrestleMania week. That's my homework this weekend. I've got the rest of tonight off. I've got tomorrow off. I'm going to be working on that. The WrestleMania shorts will finish up as well. We'll have all 40 of those done by the time we get to next Saturday. And I'm going to have links for you for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday. So first things first, tomorrow, by the way, we're going to be watching WrestleMania 12. WrestleMania 12 watch along. The link to that is up. That's ready to go right now. So join us tomorrow, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific right here. And we're going to watch the Iron Man match together tomorrow night. Well, we're going to watch the whole pay-per-view, but we are going to watch the Iron Man match. And WrestleMania 12 will be the last old school WrestleMania we have to get to, pretty much. So we're going to watch that tomorrow. Monday night, Go Home Raw. We will be here. We're going to watch it. Let's do a watch along and a review on Monday night. I will be posting the link to that, in the next couple of days. Then for WrestleMania week, probably nothing on the channel Tuesday or Wednesday other than the WrestleMania shorts that you'll get. Then on Thursday, thinking about doing a doubleheader. So like I said, the links are coming up here in the next couple of days. Thursday will be predictions. I also think Thursday is the day that Collision airs, so we will try to knock out the predictions before Collision. So we'll probably go like 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific for WrestleMania predictions on Thursday. Then we'll take an hour break, watch Collision, and come back late night. You're going to have to stay up late on Thursday night if you want to partake in this. But Thursday night, probably 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. That's probably the time I'm going to schedule this. We are going to watch WrestleMania 1. Late night watch along right ahead of WrestleMania. We're going to watch the very first one late night on Thursday. So if you have to work, if you're a 9-to-5er or an 8-to-5er or whatever, that might not work for you. But if you can stay up late at night, hang with us on Thursday. Like I said, links to all this stuff is coming. Friday might also be a doubleheader. I think we're going to come up here and review Smackdown on Friday after the show. But then there's like a 2-hour gap between Smackdown and the Hall of Fame, which goes live as well. So I'm thinking we might review Smackdown and then do a watch-along of the Hall of Fame. Another late-night ordeal on Friday night. Might as well make it a party, right? So that's what I'm working on right now. And then, of course, WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. We'll be here for both watch-along and review. So lots of stuff coming. You're going to be tired of me by the time, we get a week out from now. So I just am sorry that I don't have the links up yet. I've been swamped. I've been busy, and I haven't been able to get to it. Last year, I was way ahead on all this stuff. So I'll be working on all of that this weekend. You will have links all throughout WrestleMania week for you guys, and I hope you can join me because it's going to be a party up in here. So just keep that in mind for the week, and like I said, links coming. Now, let's cruise right over here to the chat, say hello to everybody, and then we will start getting into some wrestling news. And I want to start the wrestling news by paying tribute to Kevin Castle. We're gonna start with that, so just hang tight on that, and I definitely am going to talk about him. What up, Zane? Good to see my boy in here. A lot of you guys in the chat were in the video montage that we just posted earlier. I thought that would make an appropriate countdown screen for tonight's video since I posted that yesterday. Zane G, always happy to see you, man. West Coast Jams is in the house. We got Tatanani, we got Brandon McNeil, we've got Melissa, Garrett Osborne, Jay Lambo, Colin Wright, Kevin, Killicam, my boy Barry. We got JJ Legg, Daniel Malcolm, Aaron Gothier, Isaac, El Magnifico, Denny Downbad, Mike Rouse, Ben Espinoza. Oh, gosh, we've got Jacob Zombie Fighter. What's up, bro? Rodrigo, David Brown, Serge, Gilbert, DJG. Happy 15th. I can remember this channel being the first place I'd go whenever someone in wrestling passes away. Yeah, we've been through a lot of that together. Colin Wright, thank you for the 5, my friend. OTRS got me into your channel in 2011. Holy shit. Got me through my college. Your video on Hogan's sex tape with his leathery cock had me in stitches. I forgot I said that. OTRS, is he still doing? Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, he was a nice dude. He still does stuff, right? I haven't talked to him in a while, but yeah, hopefully he's still on YouTube occasionally doing his thing. We've got Ricky Zalvadar up in here. Ruben Anthony, thank you so much for the $15, $1 per year. Appreciate that. Happy anniversary, my friend. Found you in 2015 as I was laid up post-knee surgery and found your top 10 Manias video. Cool. I haven't looked back in 10 years. Excited to see what the next 15 have in store. Don't talk about the next 15 years because in 15 years, I'm going to be 62. So let's not talk about that yet, if that's okay, Ruben. I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. Yeah, 2015 is the year that I really believe the channel started, because from 2010 to 2015, I wasn't even monetizing my videos. I didn't make a dime off this stuff until 2015. I said, I'm going to flip on monetization and I'm going to start making my videos available in podcast form over on the podcast sites. And then 2 years later, I started doing the live streams, and that was a game changer for sure. It's been fun for the channel to evolve. Crazy J26, good to see you. Spartan Sprinkles in the house as well. And Nicole Lensing dropping in a very generous 50. Thank you so much for that, Nicole. Good to see you back in here. Hey, good Mike, congrats to 15 years on YouTube. I remember discovering you through a German wrestling magazine forum where someone posted a video of you talking about the build to Rock and Cena at Mania 28. Fun times. I love that. I love that my stuff, my clips have floated around random websites, wrestling websites all over the world, and a lot of people have kind of stumbled across me that way. And I'm not even aware of when my videos are posted in places like that and stuff. So that's very cool. Mike 765, good to see you, man. Thank you for being here as well. Percy's in the house. So is Ryan Dempsey. Brandon McNeil's got 15 for us. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Greg. Thanks for everything. Thanks for being here, Brandon. And a big shout out, special shout out to our friend Ryan Adams, who with another generous $100 drop there. That's incredible. Thank you so much for that, dude. We do super chat running totals for the year, and Ryan is way ahead. So, like I said, my friend, at the end of the year, going to be needing that address. But thanks again for another generous $100 drop, my bud. Been watching since the Mania 34 review, which you had your iconic reaction to Brock beating Roman. Congrats to 15 years. Man, I remember 34. I'm editing that short right now, actually. I'm in the process of that. I'll drop it, I think, tomorrow. 34 is tomorrow. 33 and 34 are this weekend. You'll be getting them here in the next day or two. So I remember a lot of people being really pissed about the multiple F5s that Roman kicked out of. But to me, I'm like, are y'all high? Like, to me, I thought all the fans cared about was Roman not winning. They were so tunnel vision with that. Roman bad, Roman bad, Roman bad. So here he loses, but it's like he didn't lose good enough. And I'm like, these people are out of their fucking minds. I agree that like maybe kicking out of 6 F5s is ridiculous, but it's pro wrestling. It's not believable. I don't give a shit. I don't really want it to be believable, to be honest with you. I want some stuff to be believable and realistic, and I want others to be completely ludicrous. And, Roman remember when Brock just opened him up with his fucking naked elbow like that? Just, left him laying in a pool of his own blood and piss, and fans are still mad? I'm like, what, would you have rather have Roman win? I remember thinking that. I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, is the first instinct to be mad? And then every other feeling and emotion is secondary. And it's like, got to be mad first, no matter what, even when something good happens. Must still be mad. Very strange, very weird community. And I remember 34 being relieved that Roman didn't win because I didn't want him to win. We had to see him win at 32, and then that shitty match with Undertaker at 33. And I'm like, now he's in another main event, and if he wins the title, I thought it was going to be predictable. So the fact that Brock walked out of Mania 34 with the championship, that made me happy. But it seemed to piss off everybody else who hated Roman. I can't win. Can't win with these people. I don't understand them. We don't think alike. Chase, good to see you. No Sting at the Hall of Fame. We'll be getting into that. Gilbert, I think I got you. JJ Leg, been here since SummerSlam 2018. Right on, man. So that's been a long time. That's half my life. I mean, that's 7 years right there. Jay and Gunther may open Mania Night 1. It might. And I got a lot to say about Jay and Cody later on, so stay tuned. The new one, Vontae, appreciate that $9.99. Happy 15th anniversary, Greg. Been listening to you since you were afraid to show your face. I don't think I was ever afraid. I just didn't have a camera. I didn't have a camera. Just kidding. Keep doing what you're doing. R.I.P. Kevin Castle. Plus, I was, it was more my opinions that I wanted to get over, not my face. But then I was like, people are starting to develop relationships with me. Back then, I was still just known as Good Mic Work. And so I remember telling you guys, I'm like, I should tell you my name. My name is Greg. You guys can call me Greg. You can still call me Good Mic Work. But after getting to know some of you and then meeting some of you, I'm like, I can't be calling myself Good Mic Work. My name is not even Mike. So that's when I was like, okay, let's show my face, show these people what I look like, give them my name. That way there's a little bit of a connection there. And I remember the first time I came live, everybody was like, I didn't expect you to look like that. I'm like, what's that, handsome? I don't know what they were talking about, but I got a lot of, I wasn't expecting you to look that way. So I don't know what they were expecting to see, but apparently it wasn't me. Let's see, who else is here? Let me scroll up. I'm lost my place. There we go. I'm back. Shell Shock. Jeremy Finchin. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Rob Strickland. Jaden Paris. We got Cyril. William. Lou Thompson. JT. Let's see who else. And we'll kind of circle back. If you guys have questions and are saying anything interesting in there, I'll go back and talk to you guys. Just want to try to get through the hellos and the supers so we can dive into things here. Stone Cold 10X, thank you so much for that $50. When I first started watching you, I was working part-time overseeing community centers late night on Saturdays. Interesting listening. My now wife and I were long-distance boyfriend and girlfriend. Happy 15 today is also my wife's birthday. Happy birthday to Miss Stone Cold X. I love those stories, Stone Cold, because, you might have a particular job or something you're doing in your life that just allows you at that particular time to listen to somebody and the stars align and it matches up. My schedule matches up with yours. You discover me, you like me, you stick around. That's very cool. I love hearing stories like that. That's a very, very generous super chat there, Stone Cold. Thank you so much for that 50. I appreciate it. Thank you, the Juliet. Happy anniversary. I like Monster and other podcasters. I found you through TV Tracks. I'm going to be talking about TV Tracks here in just a minute, so stay tuned. A lot of people did find me on TV Tracks, and it was very cool being featured over there. Ronisha Thrist. I thought I said Thirst. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Want to make sure I don't lose my spot. If I miss any of these super chats, don't worry. I'm going to be circling back. Make sure I hit them all tonight. Max Pokebra, long time. Max, I think you've been here you're an OG too, right? Haven't I been talking to you since like 2011 or something? So Max is another one. Sammy, good to see you, man. Appreciate that $9.95 or $9.99. I'm going to use that to buy my WWE Network this month. Congratulations, Good Mic Work. Will you talk about WrestleMania 9? I will. The documentary was released, but I'm saving it for Elizabeth. She's going to love that. She loves 1993. She's been working. We're going to watch that Monday night. But I am going to talk about the documentary because I did see the clip about Hogan and his black eye, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but you'll get a more thorough review of that next week, buddy. So just keep that in mind. It's available, but I kind of want to watch it with Elizabeth, and I'll tell you why later. Doug Unfunny, did I get you? JL is in the house. So is Andy Linnell, Domo 1997, and anybody else that's chiming in. Thank you for that. A lot of cool messages right up front. All right, so that does it for the shout-outs, the super chats. I let you guys know what to expect this weekend and what to expect next week for WrestleMania, starting on Monday with the Raw Watch-Along, and then will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all sorts of streaming. And my homework tonight is to finally start posting thumbnails and links for all that stuff. So stay tuned. Cheers. All right, we have a little bit of wrestling news to get into, and it's relatively light, to be honest. But before we get into that wrestling news, I feel like I absolutely have to pay tribute to someone that the wrestling community lost this week, a true pioneer in wrestling podcasting, someone that's been doing this longer than just about anybody that you will ever see in the community. Kevin Castle, who was a longtime podcaster alongside Don Tony. Anthony DeBlasi. They had the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show for many, many years across many different platforms, from, the 90s being a hotline, then to like internet radio, and then into, what modern technology offers today. These guys have been at it for a long time. And unfortunately, earlier this week, we did lose Kevin Castle. He was in his 50s. And he was suffering from some health issues, but nobody really knew what they were. And I know this has all been discussed with his brother and Don Tony on their shows. It's not my place to discuss what happened to him or anything like that. So if you want to hear the details, you've come to the wrong place. Please go to them to hear about him, because that's their family, that's their brother. They're the ones to tell that story. But, Kevin was a pretty cool guy. I've had a, kind of a acquaintance relationship with him for a long time, many years. We go way, way, way back. And I first heard him on the hotlines back in the day. This would have been like the late 90s, before YouTube and internet and podcasts. There was no such thing as podcasts back then. And back then, WWE and WCW had their 900 numbers that would cost money, but there was a conglomeration of like wrestling fans like in the New York area that would basically buy like a voicemail service, and you could record long messages up to like 15 or 30 minutes long, sometimes even longer than that. And you could record that message and people could call in and listen to your whole spiel. And then when it was over, there would be a beep. And as a fan, you could leave a message. And that was how I first discovered Don Tony and Kevin Castle, was doing that in the 90s, because I was so dialed in. I wish I had YouTube and the internet back in those days, because after Raw was over, a lot of times it would leave you wanting more, and you'd want to hear a post-show report or, get any more information that you can, and you just didn't have really the internet at your fingertips back in those days. So once I discovered these hotlines, I discovered, I think, them first in the back of like a magazine, just a wrestling magazine. I'm like, oh, okay. And I start calling, and then you hear one, and then you hear about other people. Because one cool thing about what I remember about those hotlines back in the day is they would spend the first like 3 minutes plug in all the other hotlines. So I remember getting a pen and writing down all the other numbers and then listening. And so I don't remember, the history is a little bit fuzzy in my mind. I don't remember when I discovered exactly Don Tony and Kevin Castle. They definitely weren't the first, but they came a couple after, came across their line and started calling them. And that was the first time I heard Kevin's voice. And the dude had a great voice. If you're familiar with those guys, you know what I'm talking about. He had a really, really chill voice, and always kind of felt like he came across like a voice of reason, a little more level-headed, at least back in those days. Maybe not at the end, but, in those days, I always just felt like someone like me, wasn't able to articulate what I was trying to say very well back in those days. And I felt like he always had the ability to do that. And that was the first time I heard them in those hotline days. And I remember, like, I would have a routine. Like, I remember, like, 98, 9, and 2000, I would have a routine every Monday night. I would cook dinner, make myself a nice dinner, watch the show. And during some of those years, I had an early morning job, and I remember having to like wake up and go to work the next day. So I would, after the show went off the air around 11, I'd stay up a little bit later and wait for the hotline reports to post. And then I'd go lay in my bed with my cordless phone, and I'd call and like listen in the dark and just listen to the whole report. So I did that for a long time. And I would also be someone who would leave messages. And a lot of the people that ran these hotlines, I guess, liked what I said on these messages and would invite me on as guests. And I was on Don Tony's hotline. I was on other ones. And eventually I was given my own. There was another person that had a hotline. They couldn't do it anymore, and they offered it to me. And I ran it for like a year and a half. Just me. It was like 15 minutes, and the show would go basically, the same thing the other guys were doing. And 15 minutes, and then I would lay my thoughts down, and then people would leave me messages. And I did that for about a year and a half until whoever was in charge of the hotline or the voicemail company must have canceled it or stopped paying the bills or whatever. And it just stopped. And that's when I stopped. So during that whole time, they were still doing that. They were full on into their show. And back then it was just kind of all done over the phone. And that was the first time I ever heard his voice. And I kind of left that world, in like 2001. And as I talked about in my 15-year anniversary video yesterday, from the years 2003 to 2010, I was kind of like checked out, 50% checked out. I was only kind of eyeballing the business, watching the main shows, not really paying that much attention. And I certainly wasn't calling any hotlines. Well, during that time, they were still going. They did not slow down. Don Tony, Kevin Castle continued their show. And, Castle was very old school. He would call in and talk through a phone landline. It's not like he was mic'd up like I am. He was very, very old school. Don Tony was kind of like the tech guy of the group. He knew how to do all that stuff, and he was very much dialed into that. And like I said, I don't remember their exact trajectory, but I do know after the hotline stuff, came like internet radio, and they had the website with the wrestling news, and, they had a good setup there that just kept going through all those years. Then fast forward to 2010, I fall ass backwards into just making content on YouTube that I never really intended to do. Next thing you know, I'm starting to post content, and I'm starting to get back in the groove of wrestling and following it closely, and news sites and wrestling sites. And as I was doing that, I'm seeing that they are still going after all these years, and now, they had their podcast, and we've gone through all these different eras, and watching their longevity has been really, really interesting. And I would occasionally message one or both of them and saying, hey, what's up, guys? It's Greg from North Carolina. Back in the day, just wanted to say, I think it's cool that you guys are still at it. And this was back then. Here it is, 13 years later, or 15 years later after I started YouTube, and up until Kev's unfortunate passing, still going. Don Tony has moved most of his stuff to YouTube now, I think, is what he's doing. But again, I don't know their exact deal. And they would continue to work together and host shows together, and Kev would continue to be following the product and always offer insightful opinions, I thought. And I always had a really good rapport with him. Me and Kevin and Don Tony and those Wrestling Soup guys, we all follow each other. I've never really felt like we've swam in the same end of the pool, but there was also always a respect. Those guys have always been nothing but nice to me. Any interaction that I've always had has been kind. Kevin, we would have exchanges on Twitter sometimes, and sometimes there would be disagreements. And what I always liked about Kevin, and what I always appreciated about Kevin, is no matter what we were like kind of disagreeing about, because at the end of the day, it was just wrestling shit anyway, nothing was going to change. He wasn't going to just block me, or we're going to stop following each other, or anything like that. He was one guy that I knew that I could kind of frequently maybe disagree with, but the relationship would never be damaged, type of thing. And that's because we're both older. He's even older than me. So, when you get to be this age, shit just doesn't matter, and petty stuff, I think. And I just always appreciated that I could literally have like a disagreement, because I remember he was very, very pro Karrion Kross. And I remember trying to tell him that Samoa Joe was going to beat him, and he just would not hear it. And I'm like, well, that's your support talking. That's your loyalty talking there. I'm just talking as a fan. I'm like, he's going to lose. And like disagreements like that, we could have something like that, and the very next day he would send me a well wish about something. Anytime I've posted about losing my dad, losing a cat, losing a grandparent, countless friends, to suicide, and unfortunate situations, he'd be the first one there with the condolences and heart emojis. He really did have a heart of gold. He was an advocate for fostering, stray cats and things like that. And, that's one thing that that I will say to the ladies, that if you meet a guy that's like indifferent to the existence of animals, he's probably a serial killer. And you would be safe with Kev. Any man, that's a sign of a real man, in my opinion. Someone who has a sympathetic heart, towards animals and stuff. And he had that. And I think, at the end of the day, regardless of, how passionate his opinions came off, he was really a teddy bear, at the end of the day. So I always appreciated the ability to disagree with him while always maintaining, kind of a mutual respect. And like I said, once I started getting into YouTube and I see that they are still going at it and they're still doing it, then I had the opportunity to be featured on TV Tracks, which is where many of you found me. And who was over there on TV Tracks already being featured? Our friend, the Solid Monster, and Don Tony and Kevin Castle. And to me, that was so cool. I'm like, what a full circle moment. I used to call these guys hotlines in the 90s. Now I'm on this very popular YouTube channel at the time that just posts clips of popular podcasts, and I was invited on, and that was just really, really cool. I'm like, maybe I have made it. So, and it got this channel a lot of growth. And so I always thought that was really cool that a couple of guys that I listened to, over the phone before the internet was even a thing, are now I'm featured alongside them, on a YouTube channel that, posts podcast videos and stuff. So that was very cool. And I think that the wrestling community really lost kind of an OG. You know, he really was an OG. I can't think of anybody that does what we do that goes back farther than that. You know, you're talking like mid-90s, early, and that's just when I discovered him. I have no idea what he was doing with his life before that. So, you know, he's really been around for a long time. And if there's one thing I can say about Kev is he's just been consistent, you know, with his, you know, just kind of opinions and demeanor. And he's very knowledgeable. You know, it was always nice to talk to someone who had knowledge of early 80s and beyond. You know, today's wrestling experts started watching in 2008. You know, he and I could talk about the 70s together, and that's cool. And it's what I always appreciate. It's literally a dying breed. You know, guys like Kevin and wrestling fans with his knowledge, they don't grow on trees anymore, you know, and they're a rarity. And he had that. And like I said, you know, any disagreements I ever had with him we always maintained a mutual respect. And that's something that I'll always remember. And condolences out to Don Tony, his brother John, all those wrestling soup guys. All those guys are family. You know, I've spoken to them and always been, you know, cordial and had good interactions with all those guys, but I don't really know them that well, you know, but they're all a family. They're all a tight-knit family there, and they've lost one of their brothers. So my heart goes out to them, my condolences, and positive vibes to everyone who was affected by that, because especially when it's kind of comes suddenly and you weren't expecting that, there was a lot of people affected by that. Monster had some really nice things to say about Kevin that I checked out on his live stream as well. So some of you might not even know who I'm talking about, but if you do and you're a fan of that show and you know who those guys are, you know, one thing that I kind of always get reminded about when something like this happens is like, don't ever let petty wrestling differences get in the way. You know, because that's real. I mean, if I've been preaching anything on this channel over the last 10 years, I'm like, can we just please not smash our heads up against each other and stop pretending that you're the smartest one in the world and every other fan is a dumbass? Like, that mentality is way too common. And I think when you see people having disagreements, people that would otherwise be friends, you know, not getting along and stuff online, and then when sometimes you can just turn around one day and that person's not going to be here anymore, and it puts everything into perspective. So, you know, if anything, you know, we need to try to, I think as fans, just be, you know, kinder to each other, because tragedies happen and it might cause you to rethink how you behaved or how you acted or things that you said and whatnot. But with Kev, you know, I don't think he ever regretted anything he said, kind of like me. And the wrestling podcast community lost one of its biggest players. It really did. So, like I said, heart goes out to his family, his friends, and rest in peace, Kevin Castle. I just figured I had to come up here and say something about him since, you know, I did have somewhat of a relationship with the guy. And we've lost a major voice, and that's sad. Anyway, but we still have a lot of other things to get into today, not just sad stuff, a lot of fun stuff as well. And the next thing I want to talk about is the WWE Hall of Fame. We have some information on that, some more information. We've got 3 new inductees in the Legacy Wing, and WWE has announced who's going to be inducting all of the inductees this year. And it's not Sting doing Lex Luger. But before we get into that, let me just go right back over here and knock out these next couple. Stone Cold, did you send 2 of those? No. Okay, we're good. Just making sure I didn't miss one there from him. Nope. King Bling, thank you for the 5. Yo, why do refs put on gloves when a wrestler bleeds? The opponent doesn't put on gloves, so why have you? That's a good question. I've sometimes wondered that myself. I think it's a safety protocol, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's ask Triple H. Ryan, thank you for the 5, bro. In spoiler news, after Collision, TK announced a Ring of Honor Women's Pure Championship with the first ever champion crowned at Supercard of Honor. Cool. So we're going to get a Women's Pure title. Okay, more championships. Lou Thompson, thank you for the 5. Do you think you can name all of Randy Orton's WrestleMania matches? No, I cannot. I could try. Anyway, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. We've got some Hall of Fame news. So WWE has announced 3 new inductees into the Legacy Wing. Dory Funk Sr., Ivan Koloff, and Kamala. Kamala's a disappointment. I don't really love the legacy wing. I think it's a lazy way to put people in who WWE might not think is famous enough or doesn't have enough. Well, I guess that's not the issue with Dory, and it shouldn't be that with Ivan either. But, maybe there's not enough family there or anybody that could give them a meaningful induction, so they just kind of chuck them all in the legacy wing. And at least they're in. But, Kamala, I made a whole pitch for him a couple of podcasts ago. Basically, it was my pitch for and his resume as to why I think he should be getting a Hall of Fame induction. I guess technically now he's getting one. And it's not, I feel personally, I've always said this, I feel like it's a complete waste of time to ever be really pissed off about the Hall of Fame. I can't let this fake Hall of Fame bullshit piss me off. Why is so-and-so going in before this guy and this guy's going in before him? And I don't care about any of that. It's a waste of time to even pretend to be mad about it. But this one is kind of disappointing because Kamala absolutely deserves his own induction. Doesn't he have a family or kids, somebody who can come in and do this for him? I mean, he fell on really, really hard times. I feel like WWE could have stepped in and helped him out, paid a medical bill or two, gave him a Legends deal or something, and they completely fucking ignored him. And then he passed away and died. Now the best they can do for him is put him in the legacy wing. Fuck you, WWE. Just assholes, It's just assholes. I think it's asshole behavior. I mean, I know that's crazy to say, like they're putting him in, they're honoring him, but, to me, they're not honoring him good enough. Kamala was way bigger, in my mind, than someone who just gets shoved in the legacy wing, but that's what they're doing. Ivan Koloff, though, that's kind of an interesting one. He's the one who beat Bruno Sammartino. Ivan Koloff, ironically, used to live in the same town as me back when I lived in North Carolina. Before I moved to the beach, I was living in Greenville, which is the home of East Carolina University, where Stephanie and Vince McMahon went to school. And Ivan lived there, and you'd see him all over the place. He'd be at the grocery store. He'd be doing like little signings at places. He was very active, I think, in one of his churches. And when I was like a teenager, we had like a little grass mowing business, and I know he was one of the houses we did. And it was always cool to kind of see him around, because to me, he was kind of a legend, even though he was a bit before my time. I knew the legend of Koloff and what he did. So I feel like he's another one that maybe could have gotten his own induction just based on, the title win that he had and what a big deal that was, even though it was short-lived, but whatever. He's going in the legacy wing as well. And what's funny is I could have sworn he was already in that, but I guess he's not. When I saw Ivan Koloff, I'm like, how did they not stick him in yet? I don't know. So anyway, those are the 3 legacy inductees. We also have news on who's going to be inducting all of this year's inductees. I like this. Now, CM Punk is going to induct the Immortal Moment, the match, the WrestleMania 13 match between Bret Hart and Steve Austin, the submission match. A lot of fans wanted Ken Shamrock, and Shamrock would have been perfect. He was the referee in that match, and he would have been the perfect guy to do it. But Punk also fits. Punk is a guy that's going to be main eventing one of your nights of WrestleMania. He's one of your key roster players. He can speak well. I think he'd do a much better job of putting this match over on the microphone than Ken Shamrock would. And plus, it happened in the Rosemont Horizon, which is in Punk's hometown, Chicago, very building that Punk returned at the Survivor Series, won the WWE title at Money in the Bank from John Cena. A lot of history for Punk in that very building. So CM Punk being picked to be the inductor for that match is fine with me. Totally fine with me. Michelle McCool is going to be inducted by her husband, The Undertaker. It's like, how do I say this without sounding like I don't want to be like a jerk fan? I just do not give a shit about Michelle McCool. I never did. I don't know why she's considered a legend. I feel like this is Triple H getting back at Undertaker when Undertaker and Shawn surprised Triple H with the Hall of Fame. So Triple H's like, I'm going to put your wife in, and I guess there is a portion of the audience that are, probably 25 years younger than me that maybe grew up and watched Michelle. That's so crazy that Michelle McCool is considered back in the day for some wrestling fans, when for me back in the day was Bob Backlund's title run, but some fans back in the day was when Michelle McCool was in the ring. So I guess there is some audience and maybe a lot of young women out there who grew up and were inspired by Michelle McCool, but I hate that that's who you had to be inspired by. That's kind of sad, but that's okay. Michelle McCool is going in. A lot of fans are mad that Layla is not inducting her, and Lay Cool should be going into the Hall of Fame. Like, why would Lay Cool go into the Hall of Fame? They didn't even have tag team championships back then. How long were they really a team? What did they do? And Layla inducting Michelle McCool would be fine, but Undertaker is probably better because he's still kind of somewhat around, and he'll probably do a good job of putting his wife over and probably can tell some fun stories about her and whatnot, but that's going to be my bathroom break. When Michelle McCool is getting her induction, I'm going to go downstairs and make a sandwich when that's going on. Lex Luger. Lex Luger's inductor will be Diamond Dallas Page, not Sting. We don't know. It sounds like, I know a lot of the Anger Boys, I know what they're going to want to think. They're going to immediately jump to the conclusion and just run with it that Tony Khan was petty, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. I mean, it might be, but I don't think it is. What I think is accurate is that he was never asked. I don't think WWE, either WWE never asked or Sting never asked, or they just didn't bother trying. It sounds like that's more likely than WWE asked Tony Khan and he told him to fuck off. I think it's more likely they didn't ask at all. So until we get the real story on that, let's not go too crazy about that decision, but I can be okay with DDP. Sure, Sting would have been great. It would have been very cool to see an AEW talent done in Hall of Fame and all that, but it's not really about Sting and AEW and WWE. It's about Luger. So DDP has been amazing. Dallas has helped Luger get in better health. He's standing up out of his wheelchair sometimes now, trying to get him to walk. He might walk out there to the podium. We don't know. And if he does, that would be pretty incredible for him to stand there and be able to give a speech. If he has the strength to do that, I have no idea. So DDP has really been a big help to Lex. And if it can't be Sting, it had to be Page. And so DDP will be inducting Lex Luger. And as a surprise to no one, Triple H will be inducted by, of course, best friend Shawn Michaels. Stephanie would have been great. The Rock would have been great. There's a lot of people that could have done it, but it has to be Shawn. It absolutely has to be Shawn. Triple H did a great job in Shawn's induction in 2011. He inducted him. So you knew, it had to be those guys. The fact those two dudes and The Rock are like running the business is crazy to me. With The Rock running the company or being a board member, Triple H running creative on the main roster, Shawn Michaels in charge of NXT. Wild stuff that those three fuckers have so much power in pro wrestling, but they do. So there's your update on the Hall of Fame. The only inductor that they didn't mention was who was going to induct the natural disasters. I think you got two options there. As long as he's healthy enough and can do it, Jimmy Hart or Cody. Because that's Cody's uncle, Typhoon, Uncle Fred. So I feel like Cody, you get Cody and Punk both out there inducting people. Cody can do it. He's not the main event till night 2 because the Hall of Fame is going to be gnarly. I was looking up the schedule the other day because I wanted to try to get my Mania plans in order. And I'm like, I just thought the Hall of Fame would start right after SmackDown. Now, it's at a completely different venue, but I still thought it would start right after SmackDown. That makes me think that they want a lot of the talent there. So, man, I would hate to be fucking opening match on night 1. I would have to hate to have to work night 1 at all. I wonder if the people at night 2 are required to be at night 1, or if they can just kind of roll in there late. I don't know what the rules are, but I forgot. I don't know what the times because it's Mountain Time and I'm on Pacific Time, but the whole country operates on East Coast time, so I'm not really sure when. So if SmackDown is going to end, let's see, I can figure this out. It airs for me at 5 p.m., ends at 7. So SmackDown is going to end at 10 on the East Coast. Then I think there is it's going to end at, because it's a 3-hour fucking show. It ends at 10 and what? Then there's a 2-hour gap and it starts at midnight? Midnight Eastern is when the Hall of Fame is going to start? Yeah, midnight Eastern, and then I think 10 Mountain and 9 for me. So it's not going to be too hard for me to stay up and watch this thing. I think we're going to do a live stream that night, watch the Hall of Fame, but that's crazy. That is crazy. But I still like it a hell of a lot better than going live right after SmackDown in the same arena. Once they moved WrestleMania to 2 nights, it's kind of fucked up how they've done things. And so maybe we're going to see a little bit better of a Hall of Fame setup for this and this different venue that they're in. Interested to see how it looks. Like I said earlier, WWE finally released their WrestleMania 9 documentary. Now, they filmed the making of this thing all the way back in 1993 with the intent of releasing it as a documentary, but it never saw the light of day. So that footage stayed buried for, 32 years now? 32 years that footage has been buried. We've seen glimpses of it through the years. I've definitely seen, I've seen the clip of Giant Gonzalez locking up with Hulk Hogan backstage. and them shaking hands and things like that. And I've seen a few tidbits over the years. Vince talking to Sean about, how the crowd noise goes up to the heavens. But there is so much footage. Oh, I think it was that WrestleMania. That's what it was. That's where they've shown some of it. It's back there somewhere. That WrestleMania, the making of WrestleMania DVD, that one with like Vince on the cover where they chronicled each WrestleMania, what led up to that. That was a great production, actually. And I remember there's some footage there, and Howard is rehearsing Fink's in the ring by himself in his toga, and with the production guys yell at him, "Hey, pizza, pizza," which was funny. So the documentary was released. A lot of people have been commenting on it, but Elizabeth used to watch wrestling in 1993. When I met her, she was kind of knowledgeable about that time. So she loves that time period. She remembers WrestleMania 9. She remembers Brett as champion. She went to some shows back then when they were in town here, apparently. So we will watch that on Monday night, and I will give you more comments on that this week. But I did see the clip floating around of them talking about the Hulk Hogan black eye. Now, just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we watched WrestleMania 9 right here on the channel for a Sunday watch along. I think it was like 3 Sundays ago or something. And we talked about it in the watch along that night when we were referencing Hogan's black eye. And there's also always been this urban legend that Randy Savage punched him in the face and knocked him the fuck out. And I know that Hogan's a liar. Hogan's always denied this, and I know Hogan lies about everything. But like, this is one thing that I kind of believe him on. I just don't believe it was Randy Savage. And they show a clip of Scott Steiner claiming that Randy told him he punched him out. But even in the watch along, we talked about this. It's like, okay, if Randy punched out Hogan and he punched him with enough force to do the damage to Hogan's eye that he did, let's go to look at Savage's knuckles. He's very animated with his hands, so when the camera cuts to him on commentary, let's get a look at his hands. And he had a pen in his hand. He was talking like normal. No marks, no scuffs, no breaks, no swelling from what we could tell. I feel like if he punched him with his hand, he would definitely have some swollen knuckles. If he put that much of a shiner on Hogan's face and he's got stitches, he's not going to come out of that unscathed. He's going to have something on his hands. Now, I think he might have had his hands taped up or whatnot. But it just doesn't, the math ain't mathin', isn't that what the kids say now? And I also feel like Vince would be pissed. Savage was taken out on the stage being fed grapes by the Vestal Virgins or whatever. Remember, Brett? I thought there were girls here. Where's the girls? Savage is being fed grapes, get this just spectacular treatment. And I would think that if my announcer compromised my main event, the man that is going to walk out of tonight's show with the championship, with a whole bunch of images of him holding the championship that's going to be etched in history forever. And now that history is going to have a black eye in it because of you. You're fired. Like, why would there be no consequences for that? Now, this is all just me guessing. I don't have any information here. I'm just trying to use my common sense and say that I feel like Hogan might be lying about the jet ski. He might be lying about the jet ski doing it, but I don't think he's lying about Savage not doing it. I believe that Savage did not punch Hogan. I know fans want to believe that, just like they want to believe Savage had an affair with Stephanie, but I just can't really wrap my head around it. Savage used to be married to Elizabeth, the most beautiful woman to ever fucking walk this goddamn earth. And he's going to hook up with a 16-year-old? No. And when it comes to Savage punching him, I just think that there would be a lot more backlash from that. They got a camera crew backstage. You're not going to catch any of that. You're not catching any moments here or anything. And Savage and Hogan, they were already on TV together prior to that. That's another thing that's not adding up here. I think on the documentary, I think in the clip, they said, or somebody had said, maybe it wasn't in that, but a lot of people might think that that's the first time that Savage and Hogan saw each other. No, it isn't. Hogan was all over those Monday Night Raws from the Manhattan Center leading up to WrestleMania. And there was one instance where after the show went off the air, him and Savage did a whole bunch of like promo stuff or meet and greet or some charity stuff. Might have been Make-A-Wish or whatever, but there's some pictures of Savage and Hogan in the ring together in the Manhattan Center, posing with maybe Vince. Nobody's in the crowd, and they're just posing with some fans or something. So they might not have liked each other, but they were getting along fine then. And it wasn't until the following year that Savage had a problem with Hogan. Because I remember he said something on Raw, like in 94 after Hogan was gone. When I think he was feuding with Crush. He was, I used to have a problem with another friend, namely Hulk Hogan, and he's a prima donna and all that. And he kind of shit on Hogan. But that was 94. And I know there was the issue with Liz and all that, but I think they kind of smoothed that over, and then issues came up again. So the Hulk Hogan being punched by Randy Savage story is one that I just have never believed. So if anybody, if we get proof of this in any way, then I will love, because trust me, I want as badly as all of you for that to be true. I want Savage to deck the fuck out of Hogan and knock him clean out. I would love that to be true. I just don't think it is. Just trying to use common sense, that's all. What else we got in wrestling news here? Did you guys catch Kevin Owens on Chris Van Vliet? I guess that was filmed right around the same time. He was probably learning about his injury. Really, really good interview. A couple hours long. Good stuff. Kevin Owens is just a wonderful person. He's just a wonderful guy. I hate that wrestling is going to be losing him for the next probably year because it was a really good interview. I've always enjoyed hearing Kevin Owens speak. He talks well, tells good stories. And I loved, some of his stories about how he fell in love with Owen Hart, because he could relate to him and the younger brother thing he had with his own brother, with what Owen was going through with Brett, and how he named his son Owen, and some of the things that led up to that, and how his wife was on board, and how they rented an apartment that had an Owen Hart sticker on the door, which is right where their son Owen's room was going to be, and all these signs, very cool stuff. Talked about how William Regal helped get him signed to WWE, talked about meeting Steve Austin and getting advice from him and his Ring of Honor days and, relationships and all that stuff. And talked about how fans shouldn't bother wrestlers at the airport. Come up to them with a crate full of shit and for them to sign so they can sell on eBay and all that stuff that the stupid fans do. It was a really good interview. I watched like half of it. So if you haven't checked it out or haven't had a chance to check it out, go check out Chris's interview with Kevin because it was real good stuff. I saw something funny today, or not we. Only I have access to the internet, not you guys, just me. I'm the only one that reads it. That's one of my favorite when people say, I see this with podcasters a lot or like wrestling accounts. I've been hearing, we've all been hearing. You haven't been hearing anything. We've been hearing together. So anyway, we saw today on social media that Becky Lynch, in an appearance at the Ultimate Improv show, says she's done wrestling. She said she's not wrestling anymore. Maybe one day, huh? Maybe one day like, Monday, April the 21st? I think one day might be that day. I've predicted all the way since January, once Becky wasn't in the Rumble, I said, okay, so she's not in the Rumble, which is fine because we don't really want that. Isn't that the same problem we have with Charlotte? She takes time off, comes back, immediate title shot. Is that what you want for Becky? She's a bona fide main eventer. People like her, people like John Cena, they should be able to come in and get title shots whenever they want. But you got to be careful when you do that because you can really start turning the fans on these people when you do shit like that. So if she would have taken all that time off, didn't have to work at all the rest of the year, comes back and wins the Rumble, I don't know. That might not be something I would do if I'm Triple H, and he didn't. So when it comes to Becky Lynch coming back, she's not going to have a WrestleMania match, but I feel like she could possibly return at WrestleMania. I would love for her to show up at the end of the Charlotte-Tiffany match, or maybe show up and help Tiffany win. How great would that be? I don't think it's going to be that because when she comes back, she's going to be on Raw. That's where Seth Rollins is. Unless they plan to move Seth over to SmackDown after the draft, they might. If the plan is to move Seth to SmackDown, then we could see that scenario play out. Becky and Seth, I believe, will be together. But I feel like she'd be a Raw person, number one, because Seth is there, and number two, because you can debut her or have her return on the Raw after Mania. We need returns. We need things happening on that show. The last few years have just been shit. I don't even remember the last time we had a really, really good Raw after Mania. So saving her for that, I think, would be cool. But you could also bring her back at Mania if you wanted. But she's trying to act like she's not wrestling anymore, but she's full of shit. She will be back, and she'll be on Raw, I believe, at some point in the extreme near future. Because if she doesn't debut, or I should say return, at Mania or the Raw after Mania, then any other return after that would feel like kind of a, like, okay, Becky's back. Having that music, that music hit right there unexpectedly during an in-ring segment with maybe Io Sky, who will retain her championship. And so maybe she comes out to the ring to celebrate, and she's right there. And because I think what's going to happen in that triple threat is Rhea and Bianca will kind of cancel each other out. Io needs to retain there, and then Ripley and Bianca can then have their issue. Io will kind of be sitting there with needing a challenger. Enter the Beckster. So maybe that's how Becky comes back, or maybe she gets involved with Lyra, but I think Lyra and Bayley are going to be having their issues, and I think the next person to hold that Intercontinental Championship is going to be Bayley. That's my guess on that. But Becky, I feel like, should return at Mania or after Mania, and if she does not, then maybe that really means she's taken a significant amount of time off. Who knows? Want to congratulate Gunther. Had an interview this week with Ariel Helwani where he revealed that he has re-signed a new deal with WWE and he got himself a tour bus. So you got to ask for it. You asked for it, you got it. That's what I'd ask for. I'd want a fucking tour bus. All those guys got buses now. What's the criteria for needing a bus? And do people request buses and get denied? That's what I want to know. Because when Gunther says, I asked for a bus and they gave me a bus, don't say that in an interview. Fucking Tozawa is going to want a bus. So I don't know, if every single top star, does Drew have a bus? Who has buses? Who's bus people in WWE? Who do we know for sure, other than Cody and Gunther now, has a bus? Does Randy work enough to need a bus? He might not even need a bus. Some guys might not have buses. A lot of guys back in the day did. Punk had a bus. Big Show had a bus. Other people probably had buses. So I don't know who all the bus people are. So if anybody has a list of all of the wrestlers in WWE who got them buses, I want to know. Because if I was a wrestler, that would be my main goal. I hate traveling and I hate flying. And if I had an opportunity to travel while laying in my comfy bed, oh yeah, I want a bus. It's weird though. Then you got to the driver's in there with you. What if he has to pee? There's no autopilot. What does he do? Have to pull over and pee? Does he use your bathroom? Yeah. What if the driver? Yeah, I don't want to have somebody in my house. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't want a bus. Enough bus talk. Let's talk about last night. We're not going to talk about it because I didn't see it, but I want to mention New Japan, Windy City Riot. Hiroshi Tanahashi has wrestled his final match ever in the United States, losing to Konosuke Takeshita. This was a never open weight championship match, by the way. So that is the final match for Tanahashi here in the United States, unless we get some last-minute deal before he retires at the end of the year, because we did see The Rock wearing a New Japan shirt. He posted some Instagram video, and he's wearing a New Japan Pro Wrestling t-shirt. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, he doesn't do anything without a reason. And I'm like, well, they're already in a working agreement with AEW. Carl Anderson has recently had some comments where he was kind of rolling his eyes at the locker room behavior around Dwayne, around The Rock, how wrestlers on the roster were running up to him in gorilla asking for pictures and shit. And that was kind of his cue to get the fuck out of that company. And so maybe Rock was just kind of responding to him in that way, but I'm not reading too much into that yet. I feel like New Japan was founded in 1972? It's been around for a long time, just a handful of years longer in WWE. So there's a lot of history in New Japan. And Rock is always wearing throwbacks. He's always wearing the Bret Hart shirts and the Muhammad Ali shirts. To me, it felt no different than that. I feel like the New Japan shirt is more of a nod to the throwback. It's more of just a throwback than a nod to the current product. But that's just me guessing. Maybe that's Rock's way of just willing this into existence. Maybe Rock and Triple H have gotten to chatting. We should work with New Japan. They've got history like we do. TNA, AEW, all these other promotions are relatively new. They're the only other promotion really left that can really be traced back, to days before the business resembled anything like what it is now. And so maybe if they want to have a little bit of that history, combine those two histories together, this is the first way of them subtly letting New Japan know, hey, we're interested. If there's any sort of agreement on paper with you and Tony, when that agreement is up, maybe come talk to us. Or if it's a handshake deal, dump them like third period French and come work with us. I don't think it's that deep, but maybe it is. The Rock follows everything. Rock's a fan. Rock was always a fan. So he's aware of New Japan, and he's always watched Japanese wrestling, I'm sure, throughout his whole life. So you never know. I don't feel like it's anything deeper than him just wearing a New Japan shirt because it's cool. That's all. just like any of his other shirts that he would wear. I don't really think he was. I don't think he was wearing it because he's a massive fan of the intergalactic jet setters, So anyway, but that was kind of cool. Also, last night the Young Bucks showed up on the video wall from their jet, and they appeared to challenge the Bullet Club War Dogs at New Japan Resurgence, and said they would bring some 2 sweet friends with them. So I believe this is going to be the Good Brothers, and it's going to be a big 8-man deal there. Other than that, we had Zack Sabre Jr. over David Finlay last night. IWGP World Championship match. Hiroki Goto defeated Shota Umino. And we had the Iron Man match, which was nuts. 30 minutes. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Gabe Kidd. And that's crazy. I thought that result would be the other way around. And TJP defeated Tom Lawler. Good to see Lawler still in there doing stuff. And, other than that, I'm not too familiar with a lot of these talents, other than the New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Title match with World-Class Wrecking Crew and Jet Setters. So anyway, Windy City Riot results are in from last night. And congrats to Tanahashi on a hell of a run. His final match in the United States, unless The Rock pulls some major strings. And before we get to the end of this year, the 2 people who are retiring in the same year, the Japanese and American counterpart to each other, John Cena and Tanahashi, maybe there is a 1% chance we could actually get that match. I don't think so. I think there might be a better chance of having Cena make an appearance in TNA than that, but it would be cool if something like that went down. All right, let's move on to this past week's Monday Night Raw. I want to mention a couple things about Raw because it wasn't like a terribly great show, but some things happened. First thing is the Women's World Championship Triple Threat match is finally official. After all that stuff, the predictable result is what happened on Monday. I believe that whole segment opened the show with Adam Pearce with the title there. He's got all 3 parties. They try to do the 2 matches, the championship match, then Bianca's the referee, and everything just keeps getting fucked up. So he says that it's now going to be a triple threat, and Rhea Ripley puts her name on the dotted line. And this match is now a triple threat. Bianca doesn't even care, but she's pretty pissed. It feels like there's a lot of heat there between Bianca and Ripley. And, Io Sky so far has felt like kind of an afterthought, the way they're kind of pie-facing her and pushing her down. This time she was able to stand up for herself. And from where we're sitting right now, I absolutely want Io Sky to retain the championship. And I think she should. If it's any other way here, I feel like that's going to potentially turn off some of your fans. Rhea Ripley is massively over, but the way she's been presented in all of this, the fans are starting to get, she kind of looks like an asshole. Like they're saying she whined her way into the match. And that might be a little bit true, but the reason I don't have a problem with it is, number one, it's Rhea Ripley. If you're sitting here thinking Rhea Ripley is not going to be on WrestleMania, you are an insane person, because she is going to be on WrestleMania and she's going to be in a title match. So unfortunately, we could see the writing on the wall here for weeks. We knew the end result was going to be this. We've known this for over a month, maybe even longer. We knew it from the minute Ripley dropped the title that this is what they're going to do. So that's the first reason why I don't have any problem with it, because this is what we knew they were going to do. I could understand having a problem with how they got there, doing all of this when we knew what the end result was going to be, and then they took so long to get there, it kind of made Rhea Ripley look stupid or look like a dick. So I feel like they could have maybe gotten to the triple threat match in a different way. Sure, agree with that. But I don't have a problem with it, is because we knew that's what it was going to be. And I think that might be better than just a one-on-one. I think a triple threat might be fun between these women, and it sets up Io Sky in a perfect position to retain over these 2. Because they've been kind of disrespecting her. So I'm hoping that Io Sky can capitalize on Rhea and Bianca kind of being fixated on each other in this match and wind up pinning one of them. And like I said, come out on Monday Night Raw as the champion. Bianca and Ripley, they are pissed at each other, so they're too distracted to worry about Io. She's sitting there without a challenger, and out comes Becky Lynch. So predictions are coming on Thursday, but I don't think I'm going to change my prediction of Io Sky retaining. She better, and I think she should. I think any other outcome, you could potentially upset the fans. Bianca's got her fans. People will be happy if she won. But I think people will be happier if Io Sky won. You know what I mean? Also, it is official for WrestleMania. Braun Breaker will be defending his Intercontinental Championship in a fatal 4-way. It's going to be Penta and Balor and Dom as his opponents. This was made official. There was a Judgment Day segment backstage on Raw where Liv kind of mentioned, Balor's trying to play it cool. I'm happy for you, Dom. I didn't even know you wanted a shot at the title. And then Liv kind of speaks up like, I got a match. God, she's doing so good. She is so great. Liv Morgan, I just never really cared up until like last year. She was great as champion. I think she's even been better since she's lost the title. I'm really glad that they've managed to put another championship on her so she can have a match at WrestleMania. And guess what? Liv's going to win at WrestleMania too. Her and Raquel are going to retain those titles. Absolutely. So Liv lets it slip that she's the one that got Dominic into the match. And Balor, like I said, kind of played it cool a little bit. And there would be more with those guys later on. Let's skip to that, actually, so we can go in order, but let's skip to that. Later on, it turned out it was Penta one-on-one with Dominic, right? And Penta got the win over Dom. But what was great about this match was the fucking unbelievable spear. Because Balor's out there, and Carlito's out there, and everybody's out there. So Breaker shows up. He comes sprinting down the aisleway. Or I should go this way. Sprinting down the aisleway. And fucking Carlito's right here. And I can't even describe the spear. I can't put words in a sentence that would accurately describe how fucking insane the spear was. It's like he came from outer space or something. It was just like crazy. So you've seen it. You guys have all seen it. I saw it probably after you guys did. I was blown away. One of the coolest spears I've ever seen. So fucking great. And there's a big scuffle, I think, right? And then Balor, ended up standing there with the championship. So at first, I remember the last couple podcasts, I was thinking like Penta's going to win the IC title. Then I'm like, no, Balor's going to win the IC title. Dom's going to win the IC title. Dominic is going to win the IC title. Dominic is going to win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. I'm rooting hard for him. He's earned it. This kid, this little fucking schmuck from the Thunderdome days. I'm like, why are they putting this green piece of shit in the ring? This is nepotism at its finest. But once that Ripley alliance came, Dominic just became a character. He's one of my favorite people in both companies right now. It's like Swerve, Tony Storm, Hangman Page, Dominic, Cody, KO. Unfortunately, KO's hurt. I got a great top 10 right now. I love Dominic. He recently signed that wing deal, right? That's something that we brought up. We brought up him meeting a woman that would open him up to the wonderful world of sauces. And he'd all of a sudden start becoming a wing connoisseur, like a wing snob. No longer is ketchup too spicy. He's met someone that has expanded his palate. And now he's signed that endorsement deal. And so now in a fatal 4-way, Dom's in a prime position. Like if you're worried about Dom not being perceived as by the audience as a credible enough threat, then a fatal 4-way is how you accomplish getting these type of guys over. Because now he can just capitalize on something. He can probably pin Balor. Something's going to happen where he's going to pin Balor. I think Finn Balor will win the Intercontinental Championship, but not at WrestleMania. I think Balor will beat Dom for it. And I think that if Liv Morgan and Dominic are both holding championships on the Raw after WrestleMania, that's going to make for some fun Judgment Day Clubhouse material. And I expect Raw to kind of be the end of Balor in the Judgment Day. Remember the Raw after Mania 14 with The Rock doing the eyebrow? Nation attacks Farouk. Something like that. And Dom is going to have the gold now. He's going to be king shit. And of course, Liv is the she's the Yoko, or she's the Hillary Clinton of the group. She's kind of calling the shots. So her being manipulative, she's going to retain with Raquel at WrestleMania. And if Dom, like I expect him to, wins the Intercontinental Championship, that's going to be crazy fun. So that's what I hope. I think that would be the most fun of all four of those men. Breaker retaining, Penta winning, or Balor winning. Of all of those scenarios, Dominic is the one that sounds the most fun to me. So I'm rooting for Dominic at WrestleMania. I hope he wins. We also had Lyra Valkyria defending her Intercontinental Championship against Bayley. This is a good match. This is a really good match. Now, at the end, Lyra wins, and she wants to shake Bayley's hand, but Bayley's a little bit hesitant. starts to leave, but then ultimately turns around and just frustratingly hugs Lyra. So you can tell there's problems there. And the two of them, we'll talk about later when we talk about SmackDown, were involved in that big number one contenders gauntlet match, which they mentioned on Raw. And even on Raw, I was like, well, look at the other teams in that match. You know who's going to win. They're not going to leave Bayley. This whole thing is designed to get Liv and Bayley on the card more than Raquel and Lyra. I think Triple H is like, well, the work Liv's doing, I got to get her a match, and Bayley is Bayley. So, they've created this situation to get Bayley on the card now, and they put a title on Liv to make sure she has a match. So I like that. And you knew when you saw the other teams in that gauntlet that happened last night, by the way, you knew who was going to win that. It's going to be Lyra and Bayley, and then they're going to go to WrestleMania, have problems because Bayley's not sure if she likes her and whatever. They'll have an issue, miscommunication. Liv and Raquel will capitalize and retain, and then Bayley can turn on Lyra or whatever. Whatever happens there. Or that issue can happen, and then that's where maybe Becky doesn't make her return in the middle of the Io Sky celebration promo on Raw. Maybe it's in the middle of this Lyra-Bayley implosion that Becky comes out and gets between them because she's friends with both. I don't know. So we'll see. We had AJ Styles and Karrion Kross made for a match official this week on Raw. Kross is kind of doing his best to put over AJ and Logan here. He's not even in this match, and he's working hard to get it over. And I think he's kind of alluding to the fact that if AJ loses this, he's going to really lose one for the business here, and he's got a responsibility to beat Logan Paul and all that shit. So we'll see what happens on Monday between those two. We had the Creed brothers and El Grande Americano defeating Dragon Lee and Wild and Del Toro. And after that, I think it was after that, we had it official. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. So that'll actually probably be a good match. And I love that it took changing your whole gimmick to get Gable a WrestleMania match, but there you go. El Grande against Rey at Mania. That match is official. Actually, now I'm going to scroll down real quick with my Mania matches and make sure I do have that one in there. Yeah, it's in there. Night one. All right. After that on Raw, this was great. This was great. Jey Uso and Gunther. I love this. This was such a good segment because this is what I've been waiting to see. I've been waiting to see this get personal. Like last week, when Gunther is choking out a bloody Jimmy right in front of Jey Uso, and Uso was tied to the ropes, I really wasn't liking the emotion that I saw out of him. It was just felt like more of the same. I'm like, Jey is just letting us down, man. He's slow in the ring. He's just unemotional in his promos and all this stuff. Just something ain't clicking with him, But the segment last week was so good with Gunther just choking out Jimmy and the blood and all of that, and Jey doing his best to be concerned. So I thought the follow-up to that was going to be really important. If they came out here on Monday night and had another shit segment, like, what the fuck are we doing here? But this was better. At first I was concerned why Jey wasn't sprinting to the ring as fast as Braun Breaker did when he speared Carlito to get his hands on Gunther. And then I understood why. Once he got in the ring and he started, how can you stand there and talk to somebody who just did that to your brother? But it was because Jey has undergone this transformation. Like Gunther last week snapped Jey out of it. And Jey was really good. The Jey Uso, the type of promos we know Jey can cut before the yeet thing got over and the entrance got over, and he became more of a catchphrase guy. Jey has always had the ability to tell a story with his words. We've seen that. The proof is there. So that's all. That character's there. That ability is there. And so it kind of finally came out. And he basically told Gunther in no uncertain terms, I'm going to fuck you up. And he goes, when you're sitting there choking my brother, it just clicked. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm not afraid of you. I was. Not anymore. Now you've done assaulted my own family, my own flesh and blood right in front of me. You have any idea what I'm going to fucking do to you? I'm going to kill you at WrestleMania. And he seems serious about it. And unfortunately, the stupid-ass fans, now yeet is the new what, so they're yeeting everything every 5 fucking seconds. Jey even tried to cool him off, but they won't stop because fans are programmed goddamn sheep. So they wouldn't stop the yeeting no matter what, no matter how serious, this promo was. But despite that, it was still really good. It came off really well. And it's the first time in this since the Royal Rumble, since before the Rumble, that I've given a shit about Gunther's challenger. And now I do. To the point where, again, predictions are Thursday. If my predictions were happening right now, I'm predicting Jay to win and Cody to retain. And I might still pick that. I'm starting to now see, because I feel like WWE probably wanted to put the title on Jay. It's probably why they had him win the Royal Rumble. Main event Jey Uso. Why would you give him that opportunity just to have him lose? Especially when Jay has had so many title shots before. Championship matches against Roman and, at SummerSlam, big pay-per-views and whatnot. So Jay has been in the main event for championships before. What's the point of having him win the Rumble just to do that again and lose? Especially when prior to the Yeet thing, he was main event Jey Uso. And we were talking about this from back in the Bloodline days, that Jay should be given title opportunities. Everybody was singing his praises back then. But during this feud, it feels like, he's losing a step in the ring or something. We've even talked about this. I've mentioned it. And I want that to get better, because I think it would be cool if he did win a world championship. And so when you put all that together, I'm thinking of, okay, they made Jay win the Rumble. Why would they do that? Just for him to lose again when he's already been in the situation a bunch. I feel like they had him win the Rumble because they intend on putting the title on him. And then if they saw kind of the way the feud is going so far and it hasn't been clicking and Jay's been getting a lot of dislikes on YouTube and a lot of critiques, they have to do something to justify him winning. And I think that's what the Jimmy stuff was all about. Because if you notice, we didn't see Jimmy last night. We probably won't see Jimmy again until WrestleMania. Now you've put Jimmy in a position to be able to come out and help. Especially if Gunther starts cheating or whatever. Jay's going to insist that he does it on his own. I'm not sure if we're going to see Jimmy or not. I feel like I would just keep Jimmy away and have him come out at Mania. But we could see him on the go-home show. Maybe Jay's like, you're too injured, or just stay out. I'm going to handle Gunther. I'm going to handle my business on my own. Maybe they do that, but I feel like Gunther will try something. Ref will get bumped. Gunther will go retrieve a chair. Jimmy Uso will show up, kick the chair into his face. Jay going to the top, hits the splash, wins the title. 2 years in a row, Gunther's going to lose. But I think that there's a very good chance that Jey Uso will win the World Heavyweight Championship. And if he does, I want Cena to lose. I want Cody to retain, and we'll talk about that later. But Jay and Gunther suddenly got a little bit interesting, and hopefully this match will not completely suck a bag of dicks at WrestleMania. The New Day got a disqualification win over the War Raiders, and they have now booked that match for WrestleMania. We figured that. I said that weeks ago, that New Day will win the championships at WrestleMania, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And the main event of Raw was a very cool Rollins and Heyman segment. So Heyman's out in the ring talking about his relationship with Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and they're kind of retconning his relationship with Punk a little bit. They're trying to pretend that he never turned on him, So he goes way back with him and whatnot. And that's when Rollins comes out and he talks about how Punk and Roman don't really care about Heyman, especially Roman. Talking about how Roman, lost the title and then left him alone with his family to get powerbombed through a table, and Roman doesn't give a shit about you. CM Punk left and walked out on this company, left you here, and took shots at us the whole time he was gone. So Rollins trying to do his best to remind Heyman that these guys aren't your friends. Now, some people have been pitching this idea of Heyman turning on Punk and Roman and joining Rollins. And up until Monday, I had been pretty much against that, because unless you're doing it for shock value and shock value only, I don't know what you do in that situation after that. They haven't been really dropping any hints to that really at all. And I also feel like it would be a weird fit. I'd rather just have Heyman with Punk or Roman, or have them fight over Heyman, than be with Rollins. Rollins' character doesn't seem like it meshes well with Heyman. Where Heyman's, he's just going to stand there and Heyman's going to do his talking for him. I don't know. And that's not really the case. Brock and especially Roman did a lot of talking. So Heyman can just kind of stand in the background. But Heyman and Rollins, I don't know. And Rollins said, that Roman is not here and Punk's back there and nobody's here to save you. And talked about the history between Punk and Roman and Heyman, and mentioned that back at War Games, CM Punk wasn't even their first choice. It was me. I was your first choice. I declined. And when Punk agreed, he did it, but he made you give him a favor, in order for him to enter that match. So he kind of talked about how those guys really maybe aren't as wonderful as Heyman thinks, and says, I could just put an end to this right now. He said, if only there was a way I could just remove you from the situation. And he says, I think I should do it right now. It'll be quick and easy. And he starts kind of poking him on the chest and kind of threatening him a little bit. And then Heyman gets mad. Heyman throws the microphone down, get your fucking hands off me, and kind of yells. He's like, you are not going to touch me. And right when Seth is about to attack, put his hands on him, Cult of Personality hits. Punk runs to the ring. There is a brawl. Punk winds up getting stomped as he's climbing back into the ring to fight Seth. Seth catches him with a stomp. Heyman crawls over to tend to Punk in perfect prime stomp position. Rollins backs up, goes for the stomp, and then stops short and looks right at Paul Heyman and says, now you owe me a favor. So that's interesting. So I really like that these guys are trying to make this WrestleMania Night 1 main event interesting and intriguing with all of this stuff, because I feel like WrestleMania overall, maybe it kind of has an underwhelming feel to it so far. So they are really trying to tell a fun story here. And now I'm like, okay, if Heyman turns on them and aligns with Rollins, I guess that's a little bit easier to swallow now. I still don't know if it's what I want. I don't think it is. Because it's just a matter, a lot of people just want it to be true so they can say, called it. I don't give a shit about that. I don't want it to happen if I don't think it's going to be good. And I'm not sure if those two as a pair would be good. But I'd also be willing to give it a chance. You know what I mean? So it just depends. But regardless of what happens, Seth Rollins needs to win this match. Seth Rollins needs to close out WrestleMania Night 1 as the winner. I worry that it's going to be Roman, but I feel like Rollins is the one who it should be. Because Punk and Roman, they're so concerned with each other, and Heyman, now being in Punk's corner, you can see that they are setting up for him possibly to turn and join Rollins with everybody, their focus on Punk and Roman. And then Heyman turns the tables and then aligns with Seth. I suppose that they could do that. But I'm not sure if I want or need that yet. All I know is the only thing I want for sure is I want Seth Rollins to win. And I feel like Rollins, could win, and he could be the next challenger for either Gunther or Jey Uso, depending on who wins. But theoretically, if Rollins wins the Night 1 main event, what is he going to say on Monday Night Raw other than, your boy gets a title shot now? I just beat Roman and Punk in the main event. Where's my title shot? I would like that title shot now, please. There should be nothing else Seth, if he wins anyway, nothing else Seth should say on Raw other than, I want a title shot. And if he has Heyman next to him, he might get that sooner than we think. But if Heyman joins Rollins, you got to think that Rollins is going to be a heel, so Jey Uso sounds like the better opponent for a heel, Rollins. I'm just looking at a picture of my cat. Sorry about that. So I hope that it turns out to be Rollins on Night 1. That was kind of your Raw in a nutshell. Now, last night's Smackdown, not much. It was an okay show. I didn't love it. We opened up with Randy Orton and Nick Aldis in the ring. We're still trying to figure out who Randy Orton's WrestleMania opponent is going to be. And Orton brought up the fines that he paid double for the RKOs and even proposed Nick Aldis gearing up, lacing up, and getting in the ring himself. And they were then interrupted by Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa, and they teased Randy and Solo Sikoa. If it's Randy and Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania, I'm moving into the woods. You'll never see me again. Don't want that. So Tama and Solo arrive. They talk a little shit. They attack Randy Orton. LA Knight comes out to make the save. and then gets on the mic and proposes a tag team match later on in the night in the main event. And in that main event was LA Knight and Randy Orton defeating Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. BFT to Tama for the win, and after the match, Jacob Fatu hit the ring and attacked LA Knight, laying him out and posing with the United States Championship as the show went off the air last night. So that's kind of how SmackDown ended. Like I said, we also had that women's number one contenders gauntlet, which saw Bayley and Lyra Valkyria predictably beat Kaden and the other one, Shayna and Zoe, B-Fab and Michin, Piper and Alba, and Maxine and Natalya, who are now an official tag team, I believe. They've got matching gear. I love them together. I love that team together. Mark my words, they will win tag team gold. I love that because Maxine is so young and so eager and so energetic. Anything she does or problems or mistakes she makes in the ring, I'm letting them all go because she's just such a wonderful person to watch. And she really seems like she's trying her best. And she's fun. She's just super fun. And Natalya, is older, got the young one under her wing. They got matching gear. And I like it. I like the team. I've become a big fan of Natty in the last couple of years. I wasn't a big fan of her like back in the day, but like lately, she has upped her game. My God. Whew. I really like me some Natty. And I think her and Maxine together are a wonderful team, and they damn well better win the tag team championships. I'm already pretty offended that Natalya wasn't the first women's Intercontinental champion. Like, you made it Lyra Valkyria, fine. Why couldn't have Lyra just beat Natalya for the title? Like, why couldn't have been Natalya first? Given all of the history with her family and the Intercontinental Championship, I thought that she would be the best first woman to hold it. And they gave it to Lyra. Now she's in a tag team. And if she forms this tag team with Maxine simply to fail at winning the tag team titles, that's going to piss me off. So like I said, Bayley and Lyra, they won the gauntlet. They will now go to WrestleMania to challenge Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, and they're going to lose because they got issues. They're going to have a problem, and Raquel and Liv will retain. We also had a pretty cool segment between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre last night. Priest is coming to the ring. He gets attacked from behind by Drew McIntyre, and he lays him out. McIntyre then gets in the ring, gets on the mic, takes off the eye patch to reveal that he's cleared and everything's fine, and now he's 100% cleared, so Damian Priest is 100% screwed. Priest then comes back out, and there's a big brawl. They're on the outside of the ring. Priest winds up eating a future shock DDT on the steps, and then Drew rips off the necklace of Damian Priest. So his last feud was over a bracelet. This one is over a necklace, and McIntyre's trophy case is getting awful full. We had Rey Fenix getting a win over Berto, so good to see Fenix in the ring. And Zelina Vega defeated Chelsea Green via countout last night in a finish that appeared to be unplanned. I think the referees are always instructed to call it as a shoot. Chelsea was fucking around on the outside of the ring and didn't get back in the ring in time. So the referee called for the bell, counted her out. You could see the confusion, but props to Chelsea. Once she figured out what happened, she immediately, bam, right back into character, and jumped up and down. And I didn't even see it today. Is that what her Twitter page or something today has got some sort of a petition or some sort of complaint letter? Is that what this is about the count out thing? So mistake. Hopefully didn't cause Chelsea too much heat there for getting distracted and sleeping through that 10 count, but apparently that entire finish was unplanned. But that's good. That means you can schedule a rematch. I don't think it should be at WrestleMania. I don't think Chelsea and Zelina is a WrestleMania worthy enough match. I would just do it again next week on Smackdown and have Chelsea win there. And so far, Chelsea doesn't have a match for WrestleMania. So we'll see if they sneak one in last minute. I mean, if Lyra is going to get one, then I feel like Chelsea should too. I kind of like Chelsea a little bit better, to be honest. So hopefully Chelsea can get in. Chelsea is too entertaining, and I think has done too good of a job over the past year to not get a WrestleMania match. So maybe they book a last-minute four-way or something with her. We'll see. Really cool Jade and Naomi vignette. Really looking forward to that match. And Cody Rhodes had a fun promo last night by himself. Poor Cody's been building the majority of this main event with John Cena on his own. That's why I'm starting to become more and more turned off by the idea of John Cena winning the championship here because he's not even around. And like I think back to Cena's reign, I think back to, so I'm looking at all the people who's telling me who had buses. That's awesome. Cena had a bus. Randy had a bus. Cody had a bus. Miz has a bus. One thing about Cena is that think back to like when he was at his peak. When Cena would defend the championship or when Cena would be in the ring with a challenger like he is now to Cody, he won that match. And I'm starting to think more and more because obviously I feel like I have the same thought process as all of you and everybody else. Well, if they're going to turn John Cena heel 8 months before he retires, 10 months before he retires, certainly he's got to win the title. Yeah, but maybe not at WrestleMania. I'm starting to think Cody needs to retain. If I had it my way, Jay's winning, Cody's retaining. I don't think it will have the same effect. Cody retaining will have the same effect of Cena retaining and Roman retaining. Oh, retains again. Cody always wins. I don't think Cody has ventured into that territory yet. Plus, if they want to create another star that's on the level of a John Cena and is on and has the same, kind of level of success that John Cena had when he was on top, then this is absolutely a match that Cody needs to win. This is John Cena versus Triple H at WrestleMania 22. I feel like it's largely close to that, and Cody needs to win this. Now, predictions are coming Thursday. I'll probably change my pick, but I'm not even saying if what I think is going to happen and what I think should happen. I'm kind of now leaning towards wanting Cody to win than Cena winning the championship because we still have money in the bank. I would love for Cena to win the championship, defend against Orton at Backlash, defend against Punk at Money in the Bank. All that would be fun. But why can't Cena win Money in the Bank and then cash in on Jay? Just do that. Cash in on Jey Uso. Because if Randy Orton was going to get the title shot against Cena at Backlash, Randy Orton could also get the title shot against Cody. There's an easy way to make that make sense too. So either way, you're fine there. And maybe Cena, and I've talked about this in title lineages before, if you want to make that World Heavyweight Championship really something, you should put a major name on it. Cena never held the Universal title. Never held it. That title's defunct now, so who gives a shit? But the World Heavyweight Championship is a belt that you would think WWE wants to keep around for a long time. That being the final belt that Cena holds, I would like that. But the way Cody had all of these championship belts out there last night, he had the old school one from the 60s or 70s. He had the Winged Eagle. I think he had the Hogan 86 belt. He had the Eddie Guerrero Undisputed title, and he had John Cena's spinner belt. And if Cena were to win, I would love for him to bring back the spinner. That would be fun. But Cody is basically I'm not going to let you retire this championship. I'm the WWE champion and you're not. And Cody has been holding his own in these promos. And I feel like if Cody is their guy, a win over Cena would not be too much in my mind. It wouldn't be, you're not even close to treading into the territory of where Cena, LOL, Cena wins type of thing. Super Cena always wins. I don't think Cody is there yet. Think about Roman beating Cody a couple of years ago. And also, Cody, I'm pretty sure, is sitting on a losing record at WrestleMania right now. And since he's come back, he's 2-1. Won at 38, lost at 39, won at 40. Well, no, he's 2-2 since he's come back. He lost at 39 and 40, but he also won at 40. So since his return, he's 2-2. I'm pretty sure it's a losing record overall, although I'm not sure. He's lost to the Big Show, right, in the Intercontinental title, and I think he faced Rey Mysterio one time, and then the Legacy match. I'm pretty sure he's got a losing record at WrestleMania, right? Am I right about that? So I feel like losing again, Cody's going to have more WrestleMania losses than he's going to have WrestleMania wins since returning. So I'm kind of leaning towards Cody. Well, maybe not leaning towards him in terms of that's who I think WWE's going to have win. That's who I'm rooting for. I'm being a fan here. I'm rooting for Cody. I at this point, I would prefer Cody to win than to see John Cena win the championship as a heel, because so far heel John Cena is not what I thought it would be. I thought he'd be side by side with The Rock right from the word go. We haven't even seen the fucking Rock since Elimination Chamber, which is insane. I'm sure he's going to come out at WrestleMania. He better, because I want Austin to come out there and stun his ass. And if we're not going to see The Rock until WrestleMania, I feel like that should be the revenge. You know, The Rock and John Cena and Travis Scott annihilated Cody at Elimination Chamber. So the match, what's going to have all those guys just getting the best of Cody again? You know, Rock's going to maybe make an appearance. And if Cody has backup, if we hear the glass shatter in a Cody match, you mean to tell me he's going to lose that? I don't know, man. I think Austin is going to come out and help him win the same way Cena came out and helped him win last year. And Cena hit rock bottom last year, didn't he? Didn't The Rock hit him with that? So as of right now, I'm kind of pulling for Cody, if you can believe that. Last night, we also had Tiffany Stratton defeating Roxanne Perez. And after the match, she was attacked by Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte completely laid her out. And I think there was an attack in like the parking lot too, right? And according to Fightful Select, I was reading some of their news today, WWE management was very happy with the way the Tiffany and Charlotte segment went down last night on Smackdown, and it was very well received. So things are fine right now between Tiffany and Charlotte and that very awkward exchange they had last week. And we'll see how the match translates at WrestleMania, but that's another one where I'm really pulling for Tiffany. I just don't really like Charlotte. I think a lot of fans have every reason not to care much for her. And if she is going to win another championship like this and put down somebody else, I just think she's already just getting it from all angles from the fans. And, you know, and fans treading into the personal attacks I don't like. You know, I know she's had 15 fucking face surgeries and stuff, but you just don't need to bring that up to her every time. I feel legitimately bad for people and sad for people addicted to plastic surgery. Like I really do. I feel bad for them. But it's not my place to, you know, shame them or anything like that. I just feel bad for them. But if Charlotte were to win here, I think the attacks are going to get even more insane. Like even more insane. So it's probably in Charlotte's best interest to not win here at WrestleMania. Perhaps beat Tiffany after. I don't care if Charlotte beats Tiffany, just maybe not at WrestleMania. I think that's really going to turn the fans off. I think Jay wins, the two Rumble winners. Jay wins, Charlotte does not. That's what I would go for. But this is Charlotte we're talking about here, and we know how WWE treats Charlotte, and she usually wins matches like this. And last time she was in a big one at 39, she lost to Rhea Ripley. So I feel like she's got a very good chance of putting down Tiffany Stratton here. But man, the fans are going to shit on her, man. So hard. That victory celebration promo on SmackDown after she wins is going to be brutal. Brutal. So, as it relates to WrestleMania, Night 1 and Night 2, here's what we got. I'm going to run through the card. While I'm doing that, if you guys don't mind smashing that thumbs up button for anybody who hasn't done that yet. And then I'm going to go back to the chat because I've got supers coming in that I need to acknowledge. And thank you to everyone for all the awesome donations tonight. You guys are great. Thank you so much. 15 years, man. If you were 15 when you started watching me, you're 30 now. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Here's what we got for WrestleMania. It looks like 7 matches on each night, possibly 8. I still think they could stick on something with Chelsea, and maybe there's one more they could do. Right now, there's 13 matches announced, but one of those matches is unannounced. The 14th match is going to be Randy Orton versus somebody. So night 1 has Jey Uso versus Gunther, Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu, El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio, New Day versus Roar Raiders, Naomi versus Jade Cargill, and the main event, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. So in terms of that card, somebody mentioned in the chat earlier that Jay and Gunther should open. Yeah, especially if you're going to have Jay win. You know, was it night 1 last year? Yeah, it was. Seth and Drew, right? Opened last year, didn't they? So I would do the same thing. I would have Gunther and Jay open the show and Jimmy show up and help Jay win and get the, maximize that crowd pop, Jay winning the championship in the first match when fans are jacked and full of energy, hell yeah, man. I'd be into that. So let's see if it's going to be Seth. Who are you putting over in Naomi versus Jade? I'm putting Naomi over. I want Naomi to win. I want Rollins to win. My early predictions here: Rollins, Naomi, New Day. I'm going to go Rey Mysterio. I think LA Knight will retain over Jacob because Solo will fuck that up. And like I said, Jay over Gunther. And the only question mark there is Tiffany and Charlotte. But in a perfect world, it would be Rollins, Naomi, New Day, Rey, LA Knight, Tiffany, and Jay, all picking up wins on Saturday. Here's what we got for night 2. We have whoever, Randy Orton versus whoever he's going to face. That will be on night 2 most likely because night 1 currently has 7 matches and night 2 only has 6. So it's probably going to go on night 2, even though I don't think we're certain about that yet. And if they add more matches, like if they add Chelsea into a match or something, then you could move Randy Orton and his opponent to night 1. Totally could. But for night 2, probably Randy Orton against whoever he's facing. Also, Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. The big intercontinental fatal 4-way match. Braun Breaker, Penta, Dom, and Balor. The women's championship match, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca. The Sin City Street fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. And that's going to be a sleeper. I feel like Priest and McIntyre, 2 matches that are standing out to me right now, Priest and McIntyre and the night 1 main event. I feel like those 5 guys are really trying to make their matches something. And I think Seth and Punk and Roman really want their WrestleMania main event to be memorable. And I think Priest and McIntyre have something to prove. They got something to prove, and I think that's going to be a sleeper match. And I talked about this all the way back as far as like 4 weeks ago. I said what I want between these 2 guys is, because you can have Priest and McIntyre face on any TV show, on any week, at any time of the year, and it would not really be that special. So whenever you have a match like that, that's on a stage this big, that you could easily just book on a Raw or SmackDown, you got to do something to have it stand out. And a Sin City Street fight isn't enough. Because it's all the trash can lids and the kendo sticks and the stupid shit that's out at every match. You need more than that. So what I was kind of hoping for was like this war, this refuse to say die war, where not only does one guy bleed, but they both bleed. And I know that might sound extreme for WWE, but I think if there's one match to have a little blood, I would do it here. Because if you have both of these guys, I mean, you don't have to go full Crimson Mask. You don't have to go full Eddie Guerrero in that JBL match or anything. I'm not saying have blood squirt out of their heads or anything. But I think that if they're both bloody and they're both like fighting to the death, something like that will make the fans remember this match. I know it would for me, because in 3 years, I'm not even going to remember this match happened. But if both guys have got a bunch of color, I will remember it. And I think that that's what you need to do here. And it's just as simple as that. You don't have to go too crazy. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's just something simple as blood. That's why you don't want to have blood all the time. That way, when you do bust it out, it makes the match stand out. And if I'm Priest and McIntyre, and they're backstage talking, we got to do something to make our match stand out. We got to do something to make it stand out. And I think that would be a great idea. If they got the nod to Triple H, go out there and have a little blood. Just have some fun. Fuck each other up. Have this war where, they're both laying in opposite corners of the ring bloody, and they're pulling each other up to fight, and the fans are on their feet, and they're clapping, and the match is 25 minutes long, and they're just killing each other. I would just love that. I would just love an absolute war. And I've even mentioned this before, that I would not be opposed at all to Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre doing the Sheamus and Cesaro thing. If they fight each other so hard, we're seeing this right now in AEW with Swerve and Hangman. If they fight each other so hard that it eventually just leads to a mutual respect. Imagine that fucking team. That's like a modern day Brothers of Destruction right there. If you put those two together for a limited time only, doesn't have to be permanent. Put them together for 6 months and give them all the belts. Give them every single tag team championship that's available in the company and put them all on them. Have them out there just wearing all the gold. That would be fun. So maybe it'll lead to that, but before you even get to that, this match has to be good. This match has to be memorable. And I think if you add a little bit of blood, you got a chance to make it memorable and make it stand out to where it won't be a forgotten throwaway match on the card. You know? Also, on night 2, Bayley and Lyra challenging the Judgment Day, the lovely Liv Morgan, and the also lovely Raquel Rodriguez for the championships. They are not going to win those. And in the main event, Cody Rhodes defending his WWE Championship against John Cena. And where we're sitting right now, I don't want to see Cena win the championship. The night of Elimination Chamber, I absolutely did. I was like, I don't even know how you do all this and not put the belt on him. But based on the build, the little bit we've seen between Cody and Cena, still no mention of The Rock and that whole thing. And it's been a little bit of a letdown. WrestleMania in general is just, it's not feeling as big as last year. And they're probably going to have under 50,000 or just over 50,000. It's going to be a pretty light crowd. Smallest WrestleMania crowd in over 20 years. Or almost 20 years. It's WrestleMania 22, I think they said, right? That last arena show in Chicago. So I might want to just see Cody keep rolling, you know? But if he loses here to Cena, then you've got a whole new chapter for Cody. But, you know, where, you know, he's got to leave and come back with, you know, kind of new motivations or something. But I don't even know if Cody is really ready for that. I think there's still more of this wave to ride. Obviously, Cody's going to have to go heel one day, do some different stuff. We don't want Cody being the exact same Cody 7 years from now. That's the problem John Cena had. I absolutely believe that Cody will change things up. But at least for this match, I'm starting to lean towards wanting him to retain. Should be noted also that WWE has scrapped any plans they may have had for Alexa Bliss. Wyatt family or Wyatt 6 is still kind of out because Bo Dallas was injured, but I think he's okay now. But now there's not really enough time to put something together for WrestleMania. I thought Alexa and Nikki would team up to challenge for the tags, but that's not in the cards. And now Alexa is probably not going to be on the show at all unless she makes an appearance of some kind, which she could absolutely do. Just depends. Just depends. All right, before we switch gears and move on to AEW, let me take a quick break and just say hi to the chat and get a little sip of my cold one because I've been talking a lot. We've been going 2 hours now already. And that's what I like about podcasting. I'm not in a hurry. Although some of you, if you're on the East Coast right now, it is approaching midnight. I still have to eat dinner. I still got to cook a steak. I'm marinating ribs for tomorrow. I'm going to have WrestleMania ribs after we watch our WrestleMania 12 watch-along tomorrow. And I don't know about you guys. Is it sad that I'm already kind of looking forward to my WrestleMania grocery list? I think I'm going to go Tuesday afternoon, and I'm going hard. I'm getting a cart, filling this thing up. I'm talking like I'm doing a watch-along, so it's not like I can have a lot of snacks while I'm doing the watch-along, but like before and after, you know, my streams and all my YouTube work, I plan on feasting and having lots of snacks. I'm not going to leave. I don't plan on leaving the upstairs portion of my home for like 3 days. So I'm just going to come up here. I'm going to be set. Well, that's not true. I'm going to have to walk downstairs and make dinner and stuff. But still, I'm going to be mostly glued to the webcam and to wrestling for all of next week. Next week, my only days I'm working are Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm off Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the following Monday. So I took the full week. There's really no reason for me to be off Tuesday and Wednesday, so I'm going to work those days. But I took the rest of the week off. That's why Thursday night it's going to start predictions. And then late night, WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania, You know, what's his name? Sacha Baron Cohen from Talladega Nights. I drive Formula So we're going to be watching WrestleMania on Thursday night. Keep that in mind. All right, let's not switch gears. Back to the chat. I want to read some super chats and read some questions and things like that. All right, last one I think I read was from Ryan giving us that Ring of Honor Women's Pure Championship news, which was interesting. Lou Thompson. Oh, yeah, I got that one from you. You asked me if I could name all the WrestleMania Randy Orton matches. I mean, if I really sat down and thought about it, but you guys don't want to see that. If I think really hard, you'll start seeing smoke, and that could be a hazard in here. Thank you for that, Victor. Thank you, my friend. Yo, Zombie Fighter. Jacob, my man, thank you so much. Another really generous $50 drop. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. 50 for 15. Happy to have been here since 2010, thanks to No DQ. I should have mentioned them in my video yesterday. I am sad. I feel off being active in 2020. I've been trying my best to be more active. Question, what has been some of your favorite videos you got to make with you having this platform? Probably a lot of the shows that I went to, the review on those, being able to, go through the footage and be able to share that and stuff. Other than that, just, a lot of anything Bret Hart related or, WrestleMania related. None of them really stand out as one that I've enjoyed, except for maybe like my WrestleMania 39 review. That was fun. Really enjoyed making that one. That's like a 2-hour long video. I'd probably put that one at the top of the list right now. Some of those collabs I did last year, loved the Solid Monster video. That was fun. But I've had like over 1,500 videos on my channel. So sometimes I forget I even do videos. I'm like, oh man, I did that. When I was sifting through, when I was putting that little video thing together, and I plugged in my hard drive and I'm just sifting through old folders and shit. I'm like, God, if this thing ever gets unearthed 50 years from now, and somebody plugs it in and sees all this shit, it's just going to be wild how much content I have, how much stuff I've done, how much stuff I've produced. It's crazy. Some of it I even forget about. And I should have shouted out No DQ, those guys over there, because I really do think my very first video that I ever posted, part of the reason why I got a handful of views and a handful of subscribers is because somebody from No DQ came across my video and posted it on the website. And that's kind of what got the snowball rolling. I'd like to think I was talented enough to get my own snowball rolling, but they really, really helped. And I don't know if it's Aaron I have to thank for that. I've met Aaron a bunch of times too. Cool dude. And he lives up in my old stomping grounds of Michigan, and I live here in his old stomping grounds of Southern California, and I visit him in both states. So Aaron's a cool guy, and I probably do owe something to those guys for at least getting the ball rolling. But I was just any old schmuck that put up a video. I just kept doing it is all. So they got me the initial little snowball going down the hill, and then I grew it from there. So a lot of people probably did. Some of the OGs who've been with me from the very beginning, it probably was No DQ that you saw me. And I got a chance to meet Jacob on the same trip that I met Aaron, actually. My father passed away back in 2019, and the funeral was in Michigan. Jacob, you live up there. Where were you? Was Saginaw? It was where the In Your House was, in 95 there. Was it Saginaw, Michigan? Because my dad used to live in Saginaw. And I remember meeting you there. Where were you? TGI Fridays or something like that. So, and you tweeted the picture, and I didn't have that picture. I didn't have it, or I didn't come across it, I should say. If I would have included you, Jacob, in a little video tribute there. Angie Law, what's up? Dang, you're on late. Yeah, girl, I took the day off. It's my 15-year anniversary. I wanted to do a podcast where I could just talk. Slowly, take my time. It's Saturday night. If any of you guys are going to bed at midnight on Saturday night, you're a nerd. So if you're on the East Coast, no falling asleep yet. Because if you do, I'm putting your hand in warm water, and you know what happens. Speaking of my father, who passed away in 2019, tomorrow would be his 81st birthday, if he was still alive. Shout out to you, Dad. Love you. Love and miss you. Let's see. I'm not done. There's more. We got Ryan Adams. And plus, I still got to talk about AEW. But I want to knock out these supers first. And then after we're all done, I'll go back to the chat and just kind of hit some of these maybe interesting questions or things that you brought up. Good point, Chase. Also, next Saturday, after that Hall of Fame that runs late, NXT airs at 12 p.m. And I think 12 p.m. is that local time or is that Eastern time? Because if that's the case, it's 9 a.m. for me. If you think I'm watching wrestling at 9 a.m., you're out of your fucking mind, especially if it's NXT. I can barely crawl out of bed for those damn Saudi Arabia shows at that time. Oh, yeah, and there you go. Ryan has got 5 from us right here. Those poor NXT girls falling off ladders at 9:30 in the morning. That is just nuts, man. I mean, I guess, when you travel, your time's all jacked anyway. When they have to go overseas, they're wrestling at all times of the day and shit that it is over here. But yeah, that's got to be hard. I wouldn't want to take a ladder bump at 9:30 in the morning. Just get out of bed, man. It's getting hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. Like, make noises and shit. Like, I couldn't imagine taking a bump. I'm going to bump out of bed. Like, immediately waking up, not being able to see one bloodshot eye and then falling down your wooden stairs. That would be like what would happen to me. Hilarious. Ryan has got 10 more for us. Thank you, my friend, so much. I believe all 4 men's singles titles will change at Mania, which I believe will be a first-time thing. I feel like it in order of losing their belts, in my opinion, is Braun, Gunther, Cody, LA Knight. Okay, I only have two. I might have three, max three. I do not think LA Knight will lose his title. It's not time for Jacob. I know a lot of people think it is. It isn't. It isn't. He's got to have the solo match first. So now I suppose Jacob could just destroy LA Knight and then defend his title against Solo Sikoa. But what I think is going to happen is Solo's going to try to help and cost Jacob the match. Then you do Jacob in Backlash. Jacob finally ends everything with Solo and the bloodline, gets out of that on his own, maybe comes out of that situation as a babyface, and gets drafted to Raw and beats Dominic for the Intercontinental title or something. I don't know if it's going to be. I would not put the title on him yet. He's definitely belt ready. Jacob is awesome, but it's like, he's so great. I'm just fine with him going right to the world title, to be honest. I don't need him to hold a mid-card title. And I think if you book it in a way where Solo interferes, that is the better trajectory to me. But I still, though, Ryan, I got all week to think about this. So by the time I get to Thursday, I might rethink this whole thing. I've already rethought the Intercontinental title match like 3 or 4 times also. So right now, I got Dom winning that. I got Jay winning the title. But right now, Cody and LA Knight, I have retaining. But you know what? Let's look at that Mania list here. So if I'm right about that, that means that... Oh, no, LA Knight's on night 1. Okay, so they're going to have some... You don't want everybody retaining on one night and everybody losing their titles on another night. You want it mixed. You want a couple of retains and a couple of changes on each night. And so far, it's all set up to do that. Jay winning on night 1. Cody retaining on night 2. Braun losing his title on night 2. LA Knight retaining his title on night 1. Right now, it looks pretty balanced. So I'm got a little bit of a difference with you on the belts, but you're right. If those guys do lose, then yeah, you'd have to look up the last time that happened. Can't be that many Manias because the U.S. title, well, no, the U.S. title's been around. I still think of the U.S. title as a new title, but it's not. It's been around since WCW went out of business, which was 24 years ago. 24 years ago and 16 days. That's crazy. All right. Yellow is cool. Thank you for the $2. Give me a Paul Heyman on a pole match. That better be a pretty strong pole. Because Paul Heyman is not a small person. Paul Heyman eats a lot of butter on his steak. Zane G, my boy. Thank you, man. You made the video package. Got a picture of you in there. Thanks for the 10. How about Orton transfers to Raw with the draft? Gets the winner of either title match at Backlash in Orton's hometown. Maybe, but wouldn't you agree that the better match is Cody or Cena because of the history? Orton and Cena again in 2025 would be kind of cool. I'd rather see that than Orton against Jay or Orton against Gunther. You know, I feel like there's more of a story, more of a history if Orton challenges for the other championship. So I feel like if Orton gets a title shot at Backlash, it has to be against the winner of Cena and Cody. That's my belief. But that's just my belief, Zane. My belief is never what is going to happen. It's just my belief. So what I want and what happens usually does line up, actually. It does, but sometimes it doesn't. And this might be one of those times. 5 more from Ryan. I just lost it. There it is. Jesus, thank you for that. Cody is 3-8 at Mania, but in one-on-one matches, he's 3-1. Okay. So, yeah, he's got some work to do if they want to try to even out his Mania record. So he's been in 11 Manias? I can only think of the last 4. So I'm missing. So the last 4 from 38, 39, and 40. 38, 39, 40. That's 4 matches right there. I remember the Big Show match. That's 5. I remember the Ray match. That's 6. I remember the Legacy match. That's 7. I'm missing 4 WrestleMania matches, and I have no idea what they are. None. Couldn't tell you when and where those matches happened. How am I missing 4 WrestleMania matches? How the fuck long has he been? I guess he came around in like 2007. I don't know. What else did he do? Was he dashing? What? Help me. I don't fucking know. I can only think of, in my head, 7. And according to Ryan, he's had 11 WrestleMania matches, which means I'm missing 4? I'm doing WrestleMania shorts right now. How am I not noticing this or remembering this? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure you guys will tell me the rest of his opponents here in a minute. Oh, we got a kitty alert? Oh, yeah. Tito, hey. Tito's hiding behind my little 15 thing on the screen here. But Tito's taking a nap. He's very good at routine. I've been streaming now for 2 hours. I think he's kind of gotten up thinking I'm going to be done soon because he knows. He knows what time it's time to eat. If it's past time or I haven't, because I just eyeball feed him. I just give him little bits of food throughout the day and I just use my eye. I don't measure at all. But if I give him less food than he's used to, he'll start being weird. He'll get up on the desk. He'll start walking around me, stepping on my keyboard and shit. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just kind of telling me, like, you didn't give me enough food today, asshole. So I go give him a little bit more and then he's happy. And so whenever he's sleeping and is content, that means I know he's fed well. Wish you could see him right now. Let's show off the cat. Oh, no, I can't. Let's move the boom arm. There we go. There he is. See him over there sleeping? What a cute guy. What a cute guy. All right. So let's transition. I think that's a word. I was going to say switch gears, and then I started saying transition at the same time, and it came out sounding like transition. We're going to switch gears. We're going to move on to AEW here now, talk about a little bit of what's going on in their universe. And to be honest, none of it's good, or it's not great. Okay, thank you. Here we go. 30 and 32 was Andre Battle Royal. Okay, no wonder I'm not remembering that. 31 was ladder match. Okay, so there's the 3, and I'm missing one more. Ray, I remember. I remember Ray, and I remember Big Show. Oh, Punk? He wrestled Punk in 2011? No. Did he? What the fuck WrestleMania was 2011? WrestleMania 27. No, that was Randy Orton and Punk. Not Cody and Punk. Anyway, just missing one more. So, interesting. Juliet, yes, we have to talk about AEW a little bit. Don't worry, it's going to be painless. We're not going to spend much time on it. All we're going to do is run through Dynamite because we had an injury and we had a fallout from the terrible AEW Dynasty pay-per-view. And trust me, it does not bring me any joy to say that. It is the first pay-per-view that I have ever watched from AEW, spent money to watch, that I've left disappointed. And I think what really bogged that pay-per-view down was the finish. It was one of those finishes that we've just seen way too much from WWE, the type of finishes that turn your audience off and has them looking for somewhere else to go. And WWE had a booking philosophy similar to what we saw in that Dynasty main event for years. I truly believe that AEW exists purely because of that very philosophy that WWE had. And I think AEW is really playing with fire here potentially by extending this angle that really nobody seems to like and are very much over. And I was worried how the fans would react on Dynamite. The ratings held. I think they pulled in 659,000, something like that. So they're right there in that 600 or 700 range, like always, on Dynamite. And I was actually thinking that they might see a noticeable dip. They might lose 100,000 right there, just off of the finish of that pay-per-view. So the fact that they didn't, I feel like that's good news and bad news. It's good news for them, but it might be bad news for us because that's just going to reassure Tony Khan that everything's fine and we're going to continue to see this thing through. Now, we're pretty much at the end of it here now. We've talked about since last year, I have always felt that the person, since this whole thing started, the person that will take the title off of Jon Moxley is Darby Allin. And we talked about that ever since before Christmas last year, because I think Darby was in line for a run. They kind of changed plans, put the belt on Moxley. And then Darby has been off TV. We've heard that he's going to climb Mount Everest. I think he's kind of in the process of doing that right now. All the training that's required for that, he's going to be off TV until May or June. And is that going to be too far away? And as we got into the beginning of the year here, and we've been seeing these very lackluster main events involving Jon Moxley. Fans are tired of this Jon Moxley title run. And so it feels like now, especially after we got that finish we got at Dynasty last week, that AEW is waiting for Darby. I think they're waiting for Darby. And that's fine because Darby should win the championship. He's like the most over guy in the company, or at least he was. But he's kind of been off TV now doing everything while you've had other guys like Swerve and Hangman Page, really, really upping their game. They're the two most intriguing guys on the roster right now. Swerve, Hangman, Tony Storm. Build everything around them, They really are terrific. So I guess that they're going to wait for Darby is what the plan now is. We have Double or Nothing coming up next month, but I think we're going to avoid having Jon Moxley defend the championship there because I think that's where they're going to do Anarchy in the Arena. And we've also got the Bucks back now, and they might be teaming up with the Death Riders, and Swerve looked into the camera on Wednesday and mentioned Blood and Guts. So I think Swerve and Hangman will be involved in that Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts. And maybe that will allow Darby to come in and win the championship. But you also have the Owen Hart Cup winner winning the championship or getting a title shot at All In. So if Darby is going to be the person, how's that going to work? If the end game here for Moxley is All In, he's going to be facing the winner of the Owen. So I don't even know how you get to Darby at this point, but it's starting to feel like they might be waiting for him to be done with the Mountain. I don't think he could be the wild card in the Owen. He's not going to be done in time. And Ryan, I think you mentioned something last time, like this takes a long time. I thought Darby would be done with this trip by the end of this month. I don't think so. Ryan brought up, it takes forever to climb Everest, and I think it is going to spill into May. So Darby is not going to be back probably until like June. So he can't really get the title shot at All In. So it's going to have to go to the Owen winner. But, when the more Moxley keeps retaining, the more it just makes me feel like, okay, they're waiting for their original plan, which was Darby to take the title off him, unless it turns out to be Danielson. But Danielson was backstage at the show, but he didn't make an appearance, so I don't know what's going on there either. But at Dynasty, we did see the Young Bucks. They were the reason that Swerve did not win the championship. They came out and helped Moxley retain. And as Dynamite opened up here, Moxley kind of cut a promo and kind of mentioning like, hey, I don't know what your game is. It's not like they were in on this together. They came out unbeknownst to Moxley, so Moxley's a little bit weary of them, but isn't really sure what their game is. And so Moxley opens up the show on Wednesday in a match against Katsuyori Shibata, beats him. After the match, the Bucks come out. They get in the ring. Moxley's kind of like looking at him a little bit suspicious, decides to leave. The Bucks praise him. Give it up for your AEW World Champion as Mox is leaving through the crowd, kind of looking at him like, what the fuck are these little pricks doing? With your little oiled chest. Who do you think you are? Good mic work on April Fool's Day? Fuck out of here. So they're out there. And they basically say that the reason, because this was the big deal, like they were going to come out there and explain themselves. And what I had said in the Dynasty review, I'm like, my fear is that fans don't give a shit what their reason is. They're so turned off by the finish. And they're so over this Moxley stuff that they don't want to tune in to see Moxley lose the title. They don't want to tune in at all. They just don't want to see any of it. And I wasn't sure what the Bucks were going to be able to tell me that would have been satisfactory. Because I don't give a shit that these pricks are back. I don't like them anyway. So, I mean, they're heels. They're doing a good job of being little pricks. I like the Bucks. I've met them. They're nice. But, like, their characters are just fucking atrocious. And they have punchable faces and punchable demeanors. And so I can understand fans being like, I just don't want to tune in at all. So I was expecting to see a little bit of a ratings dip. We didn't see that. And maybe we should have. Maybe that's what it would take to get Tony Khan to wake up. Because I know Tony Khan, I do not believe that he's an inept booker. I think there's a lot of things that he does right, but there's a lot of things that can leave you banging your head against the wall sometimes with this guy. And I don't want to see him start treading into that territory that WWE was in for so long to where they did not care about us. If anything, they laughed at our disappointment. When they gave us a shitty finish to a pay-per-view, Triple H sat right back there and just watch Twitter, watch the complaints come, and literally jerk off to them. He couldn't have cared less. It brought them joy to see us disappointed. And I'm not saying that's how AEW and Tony Khan is, but when you're hearing backlash and criticisms and fans being vocal, not bad faith vocal, because the bad faith anger boys, they're useless, worthless, bitch boy trolls. Fuck them. They're no good for this community. They do nothing but bring shit down. They suck. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about fans without a chemical imbalance. I'm talking about fans who have been on a date before, who take showers and aren't assholes with a timeline full of hate and botch accounts retweets and the R word and the N word and Trump 2024 shit all over the place. Those assholes. I'm talking about regular people, who are just trying to enjoy pro wrestling. They are being loud and vocal about this. How many times have I come up here and said, God damn AEW, get your shit together? I've had to do it a few times, but it's not like a super common thing on this channel. So when fans like me are turned off, I swear that's a problem. That is going to be a problem for you. So on Wednesday, I worked. I wasn't home. But if I was home, I don't even know if I would have turned on Dynamite. I might have just waited and watched it the next day. I might not have cared. I kind of looked at it a little bit on my phone, got an idea from Twitter about what you guys were saying about it. But overall, I felt myself not caring way more than wanting to know what the Bucks were going to say. I didn't give a shit what their explanation was. I didn't care. I could care less what motivates these two fools. I do not care. And so they came strutting out there and they said that they did it for Hangman Page. We did it for you, Hangman. We haven't forgot about you. So clearly they're setting up here. Hangman's not going to be pleased about this. And you got to wonder if they're kind of building for Hangman and Swerve to reconcile and challenge the Bucks. It's probably going to be a tag team match, Bucks versus Hangman and Swerve. And they're all going to be involved in the anarchy in the arena and the blood and guts, I'm sure. And so the Young Bucks kind of proposed, a Death Riders and Elite alliance, and they teased that. Remember that one Dynamite a few months back when they were shredding the documents and all that stuff? And when the Moxley stuff started back in the beginning, remember how excited we were that this might be something big? I had high hopes for this angle. It just quickly shit the bed for me and lost my interest. But before it lost my interest, I was pretty excited for it. I'm like, this feels big. This could be Shane McMahon. This could be something really, really big. And of course, it's a really big pile of shit is what it is. But that never materialized. So now it's like, now I just want it to end. Now I just want it to fucking go away. But back then, we were wondering, since the Elite was already trying to do that takeover thing, they assaulted Tony Khan and all that. So I'm like, it's kind of like the government and the cartel, kind of relationship there. And I was intrigued by where it could go. But then the Bucks have been off TV, for the last 11 and a half years. And now they're back. And now it's to the point where when they showed up at Dynasty, I don't care. I didn't find that interesting. Ooh, I can't wait to see what this is about. No, I was pissed that Swerve didn't win the championship because we're just tired of Moxley. So now we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait until All In. My God, if the Owen Hart winner goes in there and loses to Moxley too, we're in full WWE 2017 mode here, or 19 mode, or whenever they were at their worst. Whatever year that was. I feel like that's what AEW is going to be venturing into if they were to keep this nonsense going. What, all the way through Wrestle Dream again? Is that the plan for him to have a year-long run with it? Jesus, man. I think the fans, it's asking them a lot to wait until Double or Nothing or All In, much less another year, much less September after the summer. My God. I'll be another year older when all that happens, man. I do not want that at all. So I feel like their explanation wasn't that exciting. And then Kenny Omega came out to make everything worse. Kenny, who I love. I love Kenny Omega the same way I love Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, some of the other great people in wrestling. He's terrific. Love Kenny. Did not love Kenny's promo. Talking about some friend he had that he used to play video games with. Kenny's always been a video game nerd. Go over to his house and he had these two little Shih Tzu dogs and they were taking dookies. He said dookie. Reminds me of No Holds Barred. Dookie. So he says dookie like 3 times. And then the dogs kept dookieing. I'm like, this is TNT. You can say the dog took a shit. There's nothing wrong with that. Just say dog took a shit on the floor. They kept taking shits. The shit piled up. But no, Kenny decided to use dookie as his word of choice there. Reminded them how they pushed him off the stretcher and all that. But he's back now, not for revenge, but for his legacy and all that crap. And then Kenny decides that he's going to get in the ring and just fight with these guys right now. Starts heading to the ring to smack these two little pieces of shit around. And that's when the coin drops. Out comes Okada to face off with Kenny. Then Swerve comes out from behind with a chair. Elite retreat. And Kenny and Swerve stand tall. So they're probably going to be, it's going to be Kenny and Swerve and Hangman probably, I guess. in this Anarchy in the Arena stuff that's probably going to be booked at Double or Nothing. And I don't know what was going on there with that promo, just with the Dookie. And also Kenny said, like, talking about the Bucks' comfortable chair in their bedroom that's faced their bed. I think we all know what he means about that. So I'm just not sure if the fans kind of got that or kind of understood, like, what the fuck that meant. I don't know, but it was weird. The whole thing was weird. Like, if you're going to do a big angle like that, you're going to close down a pay-per-view with something huge like that, and you're already going to know you're going to have a huge part of your audience and fan base that's going to be disappointed by that outcome. You better at least try to capitalize and try to, bounce back with something on Dynamite and at least make the explanation something that the fans can say, ooh, that might be good. I didn't feel that way after this. So we'll see how it goes. But, man, AEW did us all dirty on Dynasty, and they did not follow it up with much on Wednesday. And, another part of Dynasty that bugged me was during the pay-per-view, I'm praising the time management of Tony Khan, because in some of those early days, I know that one of the shows I was at, I went to Vegas for Double or Nothing in 2022, and that was a really long show. I didn't notice. I was having a good time in the crowd. I didn't give a shit, but it went really, really long. And it felt like since then, AEW has been excellent at like timing their pay-per-views and keeping them within that 4-hour range. I think 3 hours is too little, and I think 4 hours is the sweet spot. 3.5 hours is also good. But when you start venturing into 4.5, 5, and then you count the pre-show, and now you've got a 7-hour show and all that stuff, like that's way too much. So I felt like AEW's done a really good job of their time management over the past couple of years, where they have gotten all of their matches in with time to spare. And they ran long. They ran long at Dynasty. The triple threat match, which was amazing, by the way, or the three-way between Kenny, Ricochet, and Mike Bailey, went 30 minutes. They at least shaved 10 off of that, as good as that match was. But it was a long show. And so when you have fans sit through a long show like that, it would have been all right if Swerve would have won the championship. But, he lost. And so you had to sit there with one of those Super Cena or Bloodline victories happening in AEW, somewhere we're not accustomed to seeing that stuff, and walking away from a pay-per-view majorly disappointed for like the first time ever. A lot of people were disappointed at Revolution too, but I wasn't, because I didn't want Cope to win, and the rest of the show was so good. But Dynasty was kind of like a mediocre show at best. And then when he gave us that finish on top of it, it was kind of disheartening. So the length of the show had a lot to do with that as well. Now, Swerve also had a match. He came out, like I said, to help with the chair. He stayed out there because he's got a match up next against Pac. And this thing did not even go 5 minutes because Pac got hurt. He took a buckle bomb and came down on his ankle and rolled his ankle or something and immediately notified the referee, and they had to go home early. He was able to finish the match, kind of get himself into stomp position. Swerve came off with the stomp. You could even hear Pac saying, "I'm sorry," during the pin, and got the win there. So hopefully Pac is going to be all right. I did not see any injury updates on him since Wednesday. I checked around. I didn't check hard, but I didn't see anything about if we've had any confirmation on a broken bone or anything. But if he's going to be out of action, that's going to pose a problem for that triple or the trios title match that they are going to be in soon against the Ops. Because after Rated FTR fell short, somebody said in the chat, like, oh, I don't know who they're going to face now. I'm like, I do. The Ops. It's going to be Joe and Shibata and Hook. They're going to take the titles off of them. And then sure enough, on Dynamite, Joe got on the mic and said they want a title shot. So I'm hoping that Pac is okay. Luckily, they do have Moxley, but I feel like you wouldn't want to put Moxley in that place. You'd want to maybe get an outsider in to maybe replace him. So if the plan is for the Ops to win the trios titles, you're going to have to figure something out for Pac if he's injured. So hopefully he's all right. Another unfortunate injury with the buckle bomb. So Swerve gets the win there. And as he's leaving, he's kind of talking to the camera, talking about the Elite and whatnot. And he mentions Blood and Guts. So I don't even know when Blood and Guts is. That's usually in June. So he's mentioning it pretty early here, unless they're going to do it before Double or Nothing, but I don't think they are. So we got Blood and Guts coming up, according to Swerve. And then later on, Hangman Page is looking for Swerve Strickland backstage. And he goes into Swerve's locker room looking for him. He finds Prince Nana there. And he says, make it clear to Swerve, I was not trying to help Swerve win. And he warns that Swerve better not get involved in his Owen Hart Cup match against the wild card. And Nana, and as he's leaving, Nana was like, look, man, I can't speak for Swerve, but there's been a lot of things that I've regretted. And this was so good. Hangman is so good. And Hangman's like, stop. You don't get to say that. And so he knew there was an apology coming. And he's like, no, I want to hear it from Swerve. So all of this is kind of pointing us in the direction of a Swerve and Hangman, I guess, reconciliation, mutual respect type of an alliance, where they've been through the wars. And that all started last week when Swerve admitted that he deserved to get his house burned down. Imagine that. You burned my house down. You deserved it. Oh, yeah, I kind of did. I mean, that's what he said. I deserved it. And so that's the beginning there. I think there's layers to the Hangman character. I really like him as a character. He's very entertaining to me whenever he's on television. I will always, even when AEW is doing things creatively that I don't like, I will pay attention to Hangman Page when he's on camera. He's great. So we'll see when Hangman and Swerve finally are kind of like forced to come together here. And I still think it's really interesting that Hangman is the one chosen to have the wild card opponent. So I'm interested to see who that's going to be. Is that match going to be next week? Do we know that? I don't even know. Actually, it reminds me how to get these Collision results pulled up because I just kind of jotted down a few of them. But I'm assuming the Hangman match has got to be next week, right? All right, I just want to pull these up here for later. There we go. We had, oh my God, that 8-man match on Dynamite was stupid. It was Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Mark Briscoe taking on the Beast Mortos, Action Andretti, Ricochet, and Lio Rush. This was a $4,000 prize money match. I guess they picked $400,000, so each winner would get $100,000. Pointless stip to even add. The babyfaces got the win. I did like the spot on the outside where they're all slapping the bald head of Ricochet. I did like that. Also, we had a recap of FTR and what they did to Copeland, and Shivani scolding FTR for what they did. And he would have an interview with them tonight on Collision as well, and they beat the absolute hell out of 2.0. My God. So one thing we've been kind of sniffing out is that what's probably going to happen is FTR is going to face Adam Copeland and Christian at All In. And I do like that. And I like how FTR beat the hell out of 2.0 tonight on Collision. They bloodied up Matt Menard and gave him some spike pile drivers and all of that. And a lot of fans are wondering, like, well, if they're going to put Cope and Christian back together, how do they do that? How do you do that on television where you explain it? Because you're going to have Cope, who's going to have to be out for a significant amount of time to sell those concertos. Then he's going to have to come back, and you're going to have enough time on TV to get Christian and Cope back together. And I had this weird idea. One way you could get the ball rolling on this is, if you try to do something a little bit more realistic. One thing I never like is when there's an angle at someone's house. Like, well, what are the cameras doing there? Like when Seth Rollins broke into, I think it was Edge, right? It was Edge's house, and he's going through and just drinking the milk. I'm like, who's the camera guy? And why is this airing live on the Titantron on Raw? So you're bringing a whole camera crew in there to make it look like there's just one guy in there. So what if you did something where, because you have to get the ball rolling on this, you have to plant the seeds at some point to where Christian and Cope can get back together. And instead of trying to do something on TV or in a backstage interview with Renee or something typical, what if you did something from Cope's home? And I'm not saying have a camera crew there to watch Christian show up there. What if you did something like have Copeland on like a Skype interview? He's doing an interview with some podcast or something like that. It can be all in kayfabe, but he can be doing an interview on Skype. And in the middle of the interview, you hear a little bit of commotion. Like you hear the doorbell ring. Hear the doorbell ring first. Cope kind of ignores it. Pardon my doorbell there. Dog's barking. Pardon my dog too. Anyway, get back into this. And you hear like a lady's voice yelling. It's Beth. What are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here? And then Cope's like, Hey, hang on again. Hang on a minute, guys. I got to go check what this is about. And then just way in the background, you see Christian kind of trying to force his way into the house. I just want to talk. And then Edge comes to the camera, comes right to the camera, boom, shuts the whole thing down, black. And that's it. And that's all you do. Cope is in the middle of an interview. Christian shows up uninvited. You can hear Beth, what are you doing here, blah, blah, and then Cope's got to get off. And it kind of feels real, and that's all you need. And don't even put that on Dynamite. Don't put it on Dynamite. Just have that on social media or something and let the fans start running with it. And that's just the beginning. That's all. So Christian shows up to Cope's house. He wants to talk. Of course, he doesn't believe him at first, but off camera, they work something out. And just something like that. Like if you want to do an angle at somebody's house, try to make it look real and not look like you got a camera crew waiting there to film this angle. So maybe something like that would be a good way of kind of planting the seed of, oh, Christian went to Cope's house, a place that he used to be welcome, or he hasn't been in quite some time. He's back there, and maybe the two are going to go out and sit on the back porch and hammer out their issues. Right there on a beautiful spring Greensboro day. Pop a couple of beers. You got good beer in Greensboro. Or not Greensboro, Asheville. Excuse me. Asheville. Greensboro's a dump. Asheville is not. Asheville's very nice. Don't ever go to Greensboro. You'll hate it. It's gross. But something like that would be a good way to get that ball rolling, because whatever they do, they're going to have to make it make sense for us. Now, luckily, when you have relationships like Sammy and Owens, Cope and Christian, you don't have to explain too much. There's so much history there. The fans don't really need to understand it for it to make sense, because you've all had lifelong friends, siblings, brothers, people that you've been at war with, and then you reconcile. It's none of our business. They just decided to reconcile. So you don't need to explain too much. But having like a little thing like that happen, I think might kind of be fun. Might be a different way of getting the ball rolling on an angle. You know what I mean? We'll see. MJF is still trying to get in the Hurt Syndicate. They're out there with champagne celebrating their tag team title victory at Dynasty. MJF shows up there and he's like right in line with almost he's doing like the Nation Fist, like right in line with all those guys. And Shelton and Lashley still don't like him. MVP does. And MJF takes credit for helping them win their tag team title match, even though they did not need him and his help. And MVP says, hey, it takes a 2/3 vote to join the Hurt Syndicate. So you got to get 3 thumbs up. Two, at least 2 thumbs up out of the 3 of us, and MVP is a thumbs up, of course. Shelton is a thumbs down, and Lashley is a thumbs down. And so then later on in the show, Alicia Atu is backstage with the Hurt Business. They leave, or Hurt Syndicate, Lashley and Shelton leave. She's left there with MVP, and then MJF comes in. And he calls his own girlfriend a skank. And he says, honey, this is an A and B conversation, so see your way out. I hate that. I hate this is an A and B conversation, so see your way out. I prefer this is an X and Z conversation, so why are you in the middle of it? I prefer that. But calls his own woman a skank and slaps her on her tushy as she leaves. Hilarious stuff. But try that with Elizabeth. See how that goes over. Hey, babe, can I call you a skank and slap you on the ass? Yeah, I'll be doing my next stream with a black eye. So MVP basically kind of gives advice to MJF about what he can do to win them over. And he goes, you just got to give them what they want. So I feel like this is more like a lot of people are comparing MJF in the Hurt Syndicate to Owen in the Nation. I feel like it's more like Sammy in the Bloodline than Owen in the Nation, because with Sammy in the Bloodline, I feel like Owen was accepted. Owen was accepted into the Nation. He didn't have to try. He looked out of place. His outfit didn't match. There's one other noticeable thing about him that also didn't match, but they wanted him in there. Owen's a great worker. So he was welcomed into the Nation. He wasn't like trying to force his way in at all, from what I remember anyway. So because I was in the building. I was in the building the night Owen Hart turned heel against Ken Shamrock. That was a Raw taping. It was in Hampton. It was the same night of the DX invasion of Nitro. I was there for all that. So, or maybe it was the night before that. Anyway, maybe it was the night before. I think it was the Monday after Unforgiven. I think that's when he turned. And then there was the taping. Oh, fuck, I forgot. But it was one of those. I went to a show Monday and Tuesday, or live Raw, then a Raw taping on Tuesday. Owen turned heel in one of those 2 shows. Can't remember which. So he was kind of accepted right away, where Sammy, remember, he had like Jay's love, but not Jimmy. Some people in the bloodline trusted him, some didn't. You know, him and Jay were close, but Jay was conflicted because Jimmy didn't like him, Roman didn't like him, and he had a friendship with him and a connection with him, but it was making everything very stressful. So I feel like the same thing will happen there with Shelton and Lashley. MJF will win one of them over, and then he'll get the 2/3 vote, and then it's just going to be weird for a while. I still think they're setting up for Cedric Alexander to join the group at some point, but I don't know, how long MJF's alliance with them is going to last, because he's trying to use them to get back his Triple B. 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Sorry, I just wanted to run to my mini fridge and get another cold one because I was out. My cold one is out. So I feel like whatever they're doing here, I'm hoping it just leads to Cedric showing up and joining the group, but I feel like they're going to drag this out to where MJF will wind up winning either Lashley or Shelton over. Maybe Shelton, and then Lashley is the last one to conform, and then you get a match. Then it's MJF versus Lashley, and if MJF beats him, he's in. Maybe it's that. MJF and Lashley, my God, could you imagine that shoot? R.I.P. MJF, my God. Also on Wednesday, we had Chris Statlander defeating Thunder Rosa in an Owen Hart tournament match to advance. Tony Storm on commentary, hilarious as always. Don Callis did an interview saying that he's looking for new members to join his Callis family, so that's going on. Adam Cole, the new TNT champion, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly revealed to us that they're now going to be called the Paragon. So no more Undisputed Kingdom. They're now the Paragon, okay? Paragon. All right. Then it was time for TV time for Chris Jericho, and luckily, this seems to be the last time we're going to see Chris Jericho for a while. So he's out there with Big Bill and Brian Keith. He's mad at them, mad at Big Bill for not helping him out or whatnot. They're all mad at each other. And then Jericho is starting to throw a little temper tantrum. He smashes the Jeritron with the bat and says, I'm leaving. It's best if I leave. It's just best if I leave. So he's going to leave for a while, take a little hiatus. He also did an interview recently where he said he was totally open to returning to WWE. So I feel like whenever Chris Jericho's AEW contract is up, he should go back to WWE. Not to wrestle, but to go into the Hall of Fame. Maybe do a final match. He's always maintained a good relationship with WWE. Went on Broken Skull sessions, sent in John Cena videos. I don't think there's any ill will towards WWE and Jericho for him being in AEW. None at all. He was there to get that company started. He was a big part of that. And if Jericho were to go back to WWE, it would make those Jericho cruises very interesting. I'll tell you that. They might change from an AEW vibe to a WWE one. But I think that he should think about going back because he does need to go into the Hall of Fame, and he's got a huge legacy in WWE. Jericho is not a stupid person when it comes to his career and his legacy. He knows, it would be silly to, any sort of shots that he took at WWE when he was the demo god, that's all just in the spirit of competition. No hard feelings, nothing like that. I don't think WWE ever held anything against Jericho for being in AEW. And he was there to really help them get going, to be a big name, to help launch that brand, to be their first champion. When I went on the Jericho Cruise years ago, I remember on the final night, one of the final matches we got was Cody Rhodes versus, I think it was Christopher Daniels or something like that. I forgot who Cody fought. But after the match, right there on the boat, Cody gets on the mic and he brings out Tony Khan and he shouts out some people that were instrumental in getting, the company going, and was very complimentary towards Chris Jericho. He goes, we would not be here if it weren't for Chris Jericho. He was a fundamental reason why AEW is here in front of your faces right now. Jericho had a lot to do with it. And so he was a big part of those early days, and I think Jericho, like Cody, will always be connected to the origin of AEW forever. But Jericho is also somebody that, being in the ring in AEW, goddamn, I don't need to see this fucker stumbling his way through a match anymore. He can still do a lion salt and shit, yeah, but man, how many times do we have to see these old wrestlers just refuse to let go? And 5 years ago was fine. I liked Jericho as the AEW champion, La Champion. Remember he lost his belt? Remember he lost the belt the night he won it? And those days with Jericho were great. He was definitely a big part of AEW, but his work is done there. They don't need him anymore. He doesn't need them. They don't need each other. I'd say part under good terms. Like Tony Khan, thank you so much, Chris. Go back to WWE, get your flowers, your Hall of Fame, solidify your legacy. Maybe you can pop back in. If you're not under a Legends deal or something, would love to have you stop back in here and show up sometimes like Sting is probably going to, and that type of thing. It would be kind of cool if Jericho had a good relationship with both companies. But I think if Jericho leaves AEW, it's not going to be under bad terms at all. Him and Tony are going to part ways amicably. Thank you for everything you gave me. Thank you for everything you did for us. And Jericho shows back in WWE, give him a talk show segment or give him something to do, get him into the Hall of Fame, chuck him out there for a retirement match, call it a career. I'd be perfectly fine with that if Jericho chooses that path. Main event of Dynamite was Hook and Samoa Joe defeating Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta in another Dynamite main event. Interesting spot in this match. After the match, Hook pukes. I'm trying to say Hook, and I'm saying Hook pukes. So Hook threw up in the ring, and of course, he got a concussion, and he threw up because of the concussion. I don't think it was a concussion. I think he just threw up. So I think he threw up in the ring. You can see the puke in the ring. Really kind of threw Hook off a little bit there, but he was able to finish the match, tap out Wheeler Yuta. Or actually, I think the puke happened after the match. But he threw up in the ring, and it was gross. Hopefully, everything is okay with Hook. And next week's Dynamite, this coming Wednesday, their spring breakout episode will be episode 289, and that will officially surpass WCW Monday Nitro in total episodes. They had 288. So they're currently tied. This coming Wednesday, Dynamite will have outlived Monday Nitro, and it becomes the longest running primetime wrestling show in the history of Turner Sports. Now, or the Turner Network. Now, WCW Saturday Night ran forever, but that wasn't prime time. Dynamite is. So, Eric Bischoff, you asked for and deserved that one. So cry more about it, you petty bitch. My God, Bischoff. Ever since Tony Khan did like an interview a couple years ago and said something about Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff has just had a throbbing, veining hate boner for the guy ever since. Usually when you get older, you stop letting things bother you. But Bischoff literally turned into a 22-year-old pimply-faced, unshowered, basement-dwelling podcaster with his rage over Tony Khan. He turned into one of them. He literally de-aged himself 50 years and turned into a little angry prick that can't let anything go, that obsesses. Eric Bischoff's had a ton of success. He's been parts of some of the biggest angles and moments in wrestling history. He's made a ton of money. He left his mark on the business. Why the hell is he not sitting at home enjoying his life? Nope, instead he's an online fucking troll where he obsesses about another man every day of his life. Actually obsesses about two men. He cannot stop thinking about Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer. They live in his head. Free of charge, rent-free, I think the kids say, 24/7. Nothing else in the world that man thinks about other than Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer. Think about how fucking sad that is. And they're all gonna, yeah, but Nitro is way better, and Dynamite didn't do that. Doesn't matter. One thing matters. Dynamite lasted longer. That's all that matters. So all your yeah buts, stick them up your arse, because Dynamite has lasted longer. And that wouldn't matter to me at all. I don't give a shit. I liked Nitro back in the day when they were good. But Bischoff I don't like. Bischoff has turned into such a worm. And Jimmy Corderas is like that too. And it's just like, God, you guys are adults. Jimmy Corderas, you're like one of the biggest and best referees in WWE. You've seen some major things go down. And he's just an obsessive troll. Thinks all day and all night about AEW. Worrying about what their ratings are. Questioning if he thinks the ratings are too high. Getting all mad about it. Tweet for days about it. Go look at Jimmy Corderas' timeline and Eric Bischoff's timeline. It doesn't get any more obsessed than that. Grow the fuck up, boys, because that's what you're acting like now. Boys. Tribal boys. Tribal agitated boys. Agitated and angry at the mere existence of a wrestling company, to where all you can do is go online and complain about it and try to tear it down. I can't be the only one that thinks that's pathetic as all hell. So I'll be thinking about Eric Bischoff this coming Wednesday. Now, Collision tonight, I didn't get a good look at it. I was too busy prepping the podcast. But I did see the FTR promo with Schiavone. I thought they were going to attack him, but they didn't. Because Shivani brought up FTR, like Dax's daughter and shit. So I thought they were going to hit Schiavone with a shatter machine there. They did not, but they were confronted later on backstage by 2.0, and they made that match for later, which FTR completely destroyed them. Matt Menard got bloodied up. They hit him with a couple of spike pile drivers. They knocked out a couple of officials. Referees were out there. It was a mess. We also had Jamie Hayter defeating Billy Starks to advance in the Owen. Also, Athena defeated Harley Cameron to advance. We had Kevin Knight over AR Fox. Anthony Bowens, who's now using Underground by Jane's Addiction. That's awesome as his theme song. So Tony ponied up for more theme music there, for more music for his guys. Anthony Bowens defeated Blake Christian. So I might, be one of the first to maybe throw Bowens' name in the hat to be the next TNT champion. I would like to see him give that a whirl. I like Bowens a lot. I'm hoping that this run is successful for him. Also, we had Megan Bain and Penelope. They beat Little Mean Kathleen and Kelly Madden. I don't even know who they are. Gates of Agony did win their match as well. And we had... Oh, that was the main event. Athena over Harley Cameron. So that was the last match. And she advances there in the Owen. And now it's going to be, Mercedes and Athena on Spring Breakthrough? Right? Oh, yeah, it's not Spring Breakout. It's Spring Breakthrough. So I think, yeah, because Athena and Mercedes, that'll be Wednesday on Dynamite. Holy shit. And that must be the same place that the Hangman wildcard match is going to happen, right? On Wednesday? Because I don't think we've had that happen yet. Interesting. Cool. All right. And then I think that is kind of the end of my notes. So we've been going for nearly 3 hours now. And I think I finally made it to the end of what we're going to talk about. But we'll go to the chat here and answer your questions and see what you guys have to say. And again, thank you to everyone being here tonight, staying up late, that type of thing. Anybody who hasn't smashed that thumbs up button yet, that would be a big help if you could help us out with that. Make sure you subscribe as well. And make sure you're here tomorrow for WrestleMania 11. All right, let me go back to the chat, knock out some supers here, and I might have to go to the master list because I have now lost my place. There we go. All right, I'm pulling up the master super list just in case I missed anybody. Oh, I didn't miss many. Cool. All right. I thought I missed a ton. I only have a couple that I missed. Looks like Ryan Adams, thank you for 5 more. Rumor is Kenny Omega and Okada is the main event for All In. Is it? Well, shit. Well, yeah. Then if that's the case, then Mox wouldn't lose the title. You wouldn't want to take the title off of him at All In if it's not the main event. That's wild. Yeah, I did see that rumor as well about that possibility for Omega and Okada. Crazy. Garrett Osborne's got 5. Mox will be replacing Pac for the Trios titles defense this coming up Wednesday. Thank you. So they did announce Mox. I mean, he makes the most sense because he's in the group, but I feel like they're going to lose. Well, I guess they still can. I would just have Swerve or Hangman or somebody come out and get a hold of Mox or whatever, allowing the Ops to get the win. So that match is also booked. Let's take a look at AEW social media and see what else is booked here for Dynamite, if anything. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yep, I see it there. Mox will be joining Yuta and Claudio. We also have... Oh, cool. We got Gates of Agony taking on the Hurt Syndicate. Holy shit, for the titles. All right. Mercedes and Athena. We also have Owen Hart tournament matches on the men's side as well. Hey, T. And Hangman's wildcard match will be on Wednesday along with Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita. That's looking like a good spring break. I'm working Wednesday night because I'm taking the rest of the week off, so I really wish I was home to watch that Dynamite because it looks like it could potentially be a good one. Right on. All right, well, let's see what else you guys are saying here in the chat. What's up, Yachiro? Good to see you. Ow, Tito's biting my arm down here. Yeah, Martin, I agree. That looks like a good card for spring break. AEW, they got to be giving some fans some good cards here. I think there's a lot of just sour taste after Dynamite. I'm still kind of, just still don't really like it. Not Dynamite, Dynasty. After Dynasty, I just think it turned some fans off, but they're still plugging away. Ratings are holding. Zach, thanks. This stream is fucking ruled. Appreciate it. It's definitely been fun. Swerve and Hangman going to dethrone the Hurt Syndicate? I don't know. See, I wouldn't put the titles on Swerve and Hangman. I would just have them form an alliance and take out the Young Bucks. And I feel like the team that's going to dethrone the Hurt Syndicate is FTR. I would have FTR do it. I would have MJF come out to try to help. Fuck up. FTR wins. And then you book FTR against Cope and Christian for the titles at All In. That's what I would do. Oh, is Okada a server? I know Nakamura's a server. I've tried to serve. I'm not very good. I had an injury once. Hurt myself surfing. And I have a lot of customers that come into my restaurant just randomly. They don't ask me if I surf. They assume I surf. Like, were you out in the water this morning? I'm like, no. Like, you don't surf? Like, you look like you surf. And I'm like, no. Like, you look like a surfer. And I'm like, well, I guess I do. But I was like, I don't have like long hair. I go, yeah, bruh. Like, I like that. Everybody that just thinks I surf. Customers assume I surf. It's the funniest thing. But that's just because people assume all dudes surf in Southern California. Because most of them do. JT, when you hear someone saying, I don't mind going back, they are leaving. Yeah, I feel like Jericho, there would be no reason for Jericho to I have no idea Jericho's contract status with the company at all. How much time's left or anything, when he signed his last deal. No clue. But I could definitely see him going back. And Saraya kind of was dropping hints too. And I could see WWE bringing her back. I could. I don't know what she'd do, but they could bring her back. I don't know if Saraya, I just don't believe Saraya could hang in the ring with some of their heavy hitters. I just don't. I feel like she'd be better as a personality, a kickoff panel person, than actually in the ring and the grind, Oh, Zach, do I have that wrong? You thought it was confirmed he got concussed? No, I don't think he could be concussed. If Hook was concussed on Wednesday, I don't think he'd be able to have that match on this Wednesday, because the trios titles are on the line. So yeah, I don't think Hook got concussed in that. I think that was a rumor. I think that's what fans thought, and I thought I had read something like kind of a rumor killer on that he was not. And I feel like that's accurate, because if he did have a legitimate maybe a concussion fear, and then after he went through concussion protocol and test, turns out he doesn't have one. But I feel like if he did have a concussion, they would not let him wrestle. But then again, in AEW, I think we've had some concussions before and people have kept on going. So you never know. Jericho in the 26 Rumble, it all depends. Like, Jericho being in the Rumble, I can handle. I just can't have him having like a singles run in the company. He's just too old. There's nothing wrong with being old. It's happening to me right now. I don't think I could do a lion salt anymore. Maybe Vince is secretly booking AEW. Yeah. No, I don't think so. That's funny, though. It does feel like it. Tony Khan's hit up Vince for some advice. No, I think, Tony Khan just kind of in his ways, too. Like, he thinks that things are fine. And maybe to a degree they are, but I think they could be better. And I think, with finishes like that, if you've got a creative plan in place, I understand not wanting to uproot that. I totally get that, because when you do that, you can really jumble up your shit, and that just makes things look more chaotic and disorganized. So I can appreciate wanting to stick to your guns, your creative guns, but you also have to be prepared when things go really south or go not as planned, or you're hearing a lot of fan backlash from the audience. You have to at least entertain the idea of making creative pivots. And when you've got promoters refusing to do that, like Vince always did, like Tony Khan may not have always done, but he definitely did last Sunday, then that can sometimes be a problem. Oh, good, zombie fighter. Jacob, see, Jacob's a regular person. He showers. I sat next to you. I smelled you. You smelled fine. You ain't stanky. If you ever sit next to Jacob, I promise he won't stink. Smells good. New one. Okay, send me an email about Charlotte Flair. Yeah, I mean, I tread lightly with Charlotte because I don't like her, but I also don't want to, plastic surgery shame her and stuff. Which is because when fans get mad, that's what they do. They just lash out. When fans are mad, when fans get mad at me, you're baldy. I had a guy call me baldy today. I'm like, why do fans think that's an insult? Do you have any idea how many women have asked to rub my head? More than you've ever seen, tell you that. So I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, I'm perfectly, I don't think they understand that I am delighted to be bald. I would not have it any other way. If I had hair, I would voluntarily shave it off. I like this. It works for me. Calling me bald is not an insult. Saying, hey, you look like you. That's not an insult. I like the way I look, so fuck you. But I just laughed. I'm like, he didn't like what I said. Baldy. I'm like, is that where your brain automatically goes? Just a straight insult. So like, I get irritated with Charlotte. I do not like her at all. She is more of a channel changer than anybody else in all of pro wrestling, even more than the Bucks for me. Charlotte is just, when I see her, just like that face. Just makes me make a face. Not for me, but that's just because I don't really like her, but I'm not going to ramp up the personal attacks and come off like an asshole because that's not cool either. But Charlotte, I just want her to lose at WrestleMania. That's all I want. I just want her to lose to Charlotte, or lose to Tiffany, excuse me. I want her to eat one of them moonsaults and get pinned clean as a whistle. Yeah, Charlotte. Well, yeah, Charlotte's almost 40 as well. I remember the first time Charlotte debuted. I was like, what a babe. I thought she was so hot. I didn't think she needed any work done. She looked great to me. I'm like, man, when she first came out in NXT and she was all doing that gymnastics, I'm like, that is a Ric Flair. Well done. You've produced a hot one there. I mean, she was a babe, an absolute babe. I always thought that she was hot as hell. And then she just didn't think she was hot enough, I guess. But she was. I thought she was really nice looking woman. But her attitude and her persona and her career and her push and everything, and it really does feel like some of Charlotte's true personality comes out in her character a lot, especially with those promos, the belt swapping shit with Becky and the thing with Tiffany last week, and just the way she is. If we hear reports that the roster and the women's locker room doesn't like her, I can believe that, because you can kind of see. Sometimes you can just tell that somebody behind the scenes is a complete asswad. And I feel like she is one. She is one. She's gonna, man, if she wins, I don't want her to win just because I don't want to hear people say they're going to quit WWE. And that's what they're going to do. Fuck this company. I'm like, okay, can we just try to control our emotions, please? Charlotte's not going to be champion forever. And I really hope that Tiffany wins. It would be much better for Tiffany to win than it would be for Charlotte to get the title. Charlotte can be warmed up, reheated, stuck in a title match situation literally at any point. So she can eat a loss. It's not going to hurt her legacy. Oh, my God. Yeah, Zach, that's kind of the Cody Rhodes philosophy. Like Cody was quoted as saying a few weeks back, a couple months ago, that, hey, this is a cosmetic business. Shame us. He was defending people who like body shame, Like, wow, if I came out there looking like shit, I'd expect to get shamed, shame us, but Cody, shame us. Shame us. But Cody also, looks very good. Doesn't have any problems. So, if you have flaws or things that you're self-conscious about, it's never fun to hear that stuff from people, especially angry, mean fans who are hiding behind the internet. It's never their face. The ones doing all the body shaming is never their face on there. It's always behind a football player or something, or their favorite wrestler, and they hide behind everything just to be a troll. So if you're gonna call somebody out for the way they look, at least show what you look like, is all I'm gonna ask from those fans. But her and Tessa are two. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot her and Tessa probably did grow up together a little bit. I don't think Charlotte is bad as Tessa. I think Charlotte has got, maybe an undesirable personality, but I don't think Charlotte is a straight up racist piece of shit like I think Tessa is. So I'm still going to have Charlotte above because, I mean, when it comes down to Charlotte, I don't look at her as evil. I look at her as just like kind of like an asshole type of thing, like just an undesirable personality, not somebody that I hate and I think should be run out of the business. Charlotte absolutely has a place in pro wrestling. I have no problem with WWE featuring her, pushing her, trying to make her, into their next fabulous Moolah of this day's generation. No problem, because Moolah was a piece of shit. And at least Charlotte Flair has got the Flair name. Ric Flair's also a piece of shit, but at least she has that name and that legacy. And back in the day, I thought that was cool when she first came in and we were getting out of that Divas era. And now we got a woman that can actually wrestle. She's got a family name. She looks good. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. But then she just, she just fucking became the centerpiece of everything. And that can just get old. That can get old to all wrestling fans and even the best of us. I try not to let that stuff really get to me because I've got 40 years of wrestling watching and, under my belt, and a lot of things that I've seen and experienced over the years. I'm not in the position of my life where I'm going to let one title run bug me. That's why people are not watching AEW. I'm quitting AEW because Moxley won. I'm quitting WWE because Roman keeps retaining. I'm like, there's a lot of WWE. WrestleMania is 2 nights. That was one match. It was 20 minutes. It's one champion. You got 9 champions in that company. You got another 11 in the other company. You're talking about one championship run is enough to turn you off from the whole business? On principle, straight principle, I reject that and try not to be that way. So that's when, if Charlotte wins, you're going to have people saying that. I'm going to quit WWE. Okay, but why? I know it sucks, but boycotting it ain't going to make it go away. It's just the way they are. So I feel like I'm not going to watch 100% of AEW and 100% of WWE and like 100% of what I see. I'm going to like percentages of some of it, and I'm going to dislike percentages of other parts of it. That's just the way it is. It's the way that is with every wrestling fan. So I try not to get too uppity unless it's a main event of a 4.5-hour show that lets you down. Then maybe your emotions get the best of you. I get it. But we've already experienced, I think, one of the worst eras we've ever seen in wrestling, prior to AEW's existence. And I think it's going to be a while before we get there again. We'll see some letdowns. I'm already seeing Triple H's booking fall off a little bit, and I feel like WWE will hit a decline, but I don't think we're going to return to how horrible it was then. So I feel like regardless of what happens, who wins matches, and if Charlotte wins or not, we're still better off than we were in 2018. Just my opinion of that. So anyway. Yeah, a lot of people's problems with Charlotte is Shell Shock writes, my problem with Charlotte, those 4 words, I've seen so much on social media. My problem with Charlotte is, I'm like, I know, we all got our problems with Charlotte, and I know what those problems are, and that's a big one, what Shell Shock brought up. She's not changed her character at all. She doesn't even have a character. No matter what, whether she is a babyface or a heel, looks the same, talks the same, acts the same, does everything the same. There's no difference in who Charlotte is. Where with other people, when they're a heel, they're a heel. When they're a face, they're a face. Charlotte is just the same person. And I feel like she could use some sort of a new, fresh something, and that way maybe losing to Tiffany at WrestleMania changes her direction a little bit, I mentioned her falling short to Tiffany and then showing up, taking like a couple months off, and then showing up out of nowhere in the middle of a title match, dressed in all black, attacking champion and challenger, laying them both out, getting on the mic. This is my company. This is my company. That's my championship. I'm here to take it back. And who joins her in the ring? Paul Heyman. I mentioned that on Twitter. It didn't go over well. I don't want to see that. I understand how when your brain first processes that, your instinct is to reject it. I get it. But wouldn't you agree that that's better than her just being the same ass Charlotte? I'm just trying to come up with ideas of something different for her to do. But that's crazy. I'm like, well, it's better. Charlotte can go out there and fucking play tiddlywinks. She can sit right in the middle of the ring and play checkers and take a shit in the middle of the board, and it's going to be better than what she's doing now. So I'm just trying to come up with ideas. It's so stupid. I'm like, well, okay, fine. Let's just keep Charlotte the way she is then. How about that? Because in my mind, that's worse. So just coming up with ideas, maybe stick with her manager, give her the Roman treatment, make her feel like she's the top dog, and maybe she's, kind of getting frustrated at her inability to win the championship, and she's really hell-bent on breaking her dad's record. And so she enlists the help of Paul Heyman to get that done. Maybe Heyman is with Charlotte and Rollins when, could you imagine that faction? Could you imagine? Well, how would Becky feel about that? The Paul Heyman thing is not going to happen. It was just like an idea. They're definitely not going to pair Charlotte with Paul Heyman. Not going to happen. But she needs to do something, whatever it is. If she falls short at WrestleMania, then what, she's just going to come out and just be Charlotte until she gets her next title shot and wins? But you're right. The character thing is a big part of it. It's a really big part of it. She's got to change it up, and she hasn't changed it up at all. Remember the submission sorority. Oh, that was great. Yeah, Ryan, Pistons back in the playoffs. What are they, like the 5 seed or something? I didn't even realize that till the other day. I'm like, look at the Pistons winning some games. I saw a clip today of Isaiah Thomas. He was my favorite player growing up, and he was bitching about LeBron James warming up on the court without a shirt on. And he just went off on this whole thing. I'm like, all right, Bubba Ray. I'm like, all old timers are like this. Like, listening to Isaiah Thomas talk and pontificate was like listening to Bubba Ray Dudley or Undertaker yell at these fucking kids on that stupid show I'll never watch. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Why are you so mad? You shouldn't be out there shirtless. The things that offend people. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. As long as he's wearing pants. I don't want to see LeBron James's dong out there because he's probably a tripod, those guys. I don't want to see that. I don't need to see his floppy dong, but I don't give a shit if he doesn't have a shirt on. The fuck do I care? It's disrespectful. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, the league is a mess. Have you seen the tattoo situation in the NBA? It's out of control. So I think somebody's shirt off is not a big deal. I also saw something today. I think Brett was doing another one of his interviews, and he has a new claim. Brett is now saying apparently that when he won the championship for the first time, that Vince McMahon had told him he was going to have a 6-year run. Bret Hart just making shit up now. Just Hulk Hogan level stuff here. Bret Hart has told the story many times of how his first run came together. Wrote about it in his book, talked about it over and over and over throughout the years. Never once have I ever heard this 6 years shit. So Vince wanted to go in a different direction, obviously, but 6 years would have put Bret as champion like all the way up until 1999. 6 years with a championship. Even Hogan only held it 4 in his best run there. So Bret's thinking that in the 90s he's going to have a Bruno run. That's an incredible amount of delusion. Bret, I love you. I called him out last week too for saying that AEW wrestlers are actors trying to be wrestlers. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that means. It's so fucking crazy. And also you have it reversed, Bret. And so now this latest one, now Vince is going to have me champion for 6 years. He was not. Vince McMahon was absolutely not going to have Bret Hart be champion for 6 years. And Vince McMahon never promised anything. If there's one thing we know about Vince, he promises nothing. He promises an opportunity. I'm going to let you have an opportunity to run with the title. But to tell Bret that day, I'm going to have you hold the title for 6 years, that would be stupid. That would be a stupid thing for Vince to say. Because what if Bret gets hurt? What? It's not going to be 6 years. So it's just another extreme claim that is just flat bullshit. And I don't know if, with Bret, he's starting to tread into Hogan level lies here. So I don't know if this is how Bret's really remembering these things or if he's legitimately full of shit. But Bret's got to remember, he's done tons of interviews and shoot interviews over the years, and he's written books documenting all of this. So if he's now deciding in 2025 when he's in his 60s to change a story on all this stuff, that's fine, but you've already documented it. And I think a lot of the issue with Hogan, too, is a lot like that. Hogan just forgets what he does and forgets what he says. He does so many interviews and talks to so many people that's, with all this stuff documented, he contradicts himself because he doesn't remember his own shit. So Bret told another big whopper today. Pretty fun. The funny thing about Bret's bitterness is it's kind of bizarrely lovable. He hasn't treaded into the category of me just being offended and annoyed, like Bischoff drives me nuts because I think Bischoff's such a little bitch, But Bret when he just goes off and starts, it's just funny, He just, even the AEW stuff, even though I thought Brett was completely objectively wrong in all of that, it never upset me. I thought it was funny. I'm like, listen to him. He is out of his mind to a comical degree. I said, laugh out loud, fall on the floor, piss my pants in laughter. That's the response I gave Brett when he said those things, because it's asinine. Fucking asinine. Chase, don't forget, Steve Austin and Bret Hart will be at the Hall of Fame. I don't forget, I mentioned it earlier. CM Punk is going to be inducting that match into the Hall of Fame. And I'm kind of hoping if Punk is going to do that one, I'm hoping Cody does his Uncle Fred and inducts the natural disasters. If it's not Cody, I think it's got to be Jimmy Hart. I think that's going to be a wrap, guys. 3+ hours. Fun podcast tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for celebrating 15 years on the channel. Thank you for all the wonderful messages and super chats and comments, not only tonight, but on the video that we did yesterday. And it's going to be a long week, man. We're going to be here tomorrow. Don't forget, watching WrestleMania 12. The link is already up. We'll also be here Monday night for the Go Home Raw. We're going to watch that together and review it. Then on Tuesday and Wednesday, I won't be up here for anything other than the YouTube shorts I've been putting up every day. And then we're going to be back Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday for predictions and a late night WrestleMania 1 watch along. Friday for a Smackdown review and a late night Hall of Fame watch along. Saturday for night 1 watch along and review. Sunday for night 1 watch along and review. And 1 week from this Monday, the Raw After Mania watch along and review for that as well. So what's that? In the next 8 days, you'll get me 6 times, something like that. It's a lot of stuff coming up. Make sure you stay tuned. Thanks again for being here on this very, very rare Saturday Night's Greg Event podcast. Anytime I'm off on a Saturday, I'm going to book the podcast for at night so we can do a Saturday Night's Greg Event. Happy you guys were able to stay up late with me if you're on the East Coast, and if you're somewhere overseas, who knows what fucking time it is. Thank you again for everything. Love y'all so much. Appreciate your support, and I'll be here tomorrow night with you guys watching the Iron Man match from Anaheim. You guys have a good night. Take care. Peace.